What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive presented by No House Advantage. I'm Eric Lindquist. Yes, filling in for Lofty here on Friday. It's Easter weekend to everybody who celebrates. Awesome. It's Passover. Fantastic stuff to all of our Jewish friends, too. Hope you're enjoying the weekend wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Stay safe, have fun, and watch some Masters content, as well as this unbelievable godforsaken NBA slate that we have before us. But there's a ton of money to be made here. No doubt about it. I know Adam's already broken it down once today. Let's break it down again. Ship my money share on Ship my money DFS on Twitter. Adam Scherer, how you doing, my dude?
Doing pretty well. Looking forward to talking about this again. It's different than this morning, at least. That's the nice thing about this time of year is it's not doing the same show twice.
I mean, this is like truly unspeakable stuff that we're about to talk about, right? Like, this is preseason NBA at its finest.
Yeah, it's preseason NBA except for like 2 games that matter.
Yeah, it's truly, and there's games that matter that don't matter to the teams, which I find to be fascinating as well, because there's actual implications that some teams just said, you know what, doesn't matter, don't care. Miami, we're going to just bypass this entire situation. What would you say? Well, you know what, I don't even know how to do that in like a what's changed way, because pretty much everything's changed for you since this morning.
Yeah, a lot has changed.
It's going to continue to change on this show.
We got Phoenix news, which was big. We still haven't gotten Sacramento news in that other late game. But getting Phoenix news is at least nice. We had Orlando upgrade most of their team to questionable, so they are more of a question mark now than we thought they were this morning when everybody was out. The Sixers announced that they're sitting most of their guys. They have a couple Q tags still as well. Jaylen Brown got ruled out. He wasn't even on the injury report this morning. The Bulls ruled out Beverly, DeRozan, Levine. Somehow Vooch still is apparently playing. I don't understand that one. The Mavs ruled out their entire team in a must-win game.
I hope they post Vooch props. Can I throw that out there?
What'd you say?
I really hope they post. I hope they post Vooch props, because it's one of those situations where, like, I could totally see Vooch playing like 4 minutes today.
But like, why? And I mean, obviously, we can talk about this more when we get to that game. Outside of the Kevon Looney situation that we were getting, where like he had that consecutive game streak that he wanted to keep going, typically, like in these spots, teams just play if they're going to limit him, like they just sit him, right?
You would think so. Has he played? How many games has he played so far this season? Has he played
I guess
every game?
that's a good question. Like, is he?
He's played 80 games. So he's literally 2 away from playing every single game this season. Maybe he
Okay.
comes out right off the bat. There it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say if I actually would feel worse about this if he hasn't missed a game. I thought he had though.
Welcome to Andre Drummond season, baby.
Yeah.
I think he's the best tournament play on the slate. At least that was my opinion coming into today, where it's like, I think I'm going to have a lot of 3,500 Drummond if I end up playing the slate, which I'm still deciding on. Just like you guys shouldn't have to decide hitting the like button. That's not really a conversation piece. Smash that like button. I haven't gotten to do a deeper dive with my guy, Adam in forever, my buddy Jordan Klein. The whole family's back together. I promise not to be a nuisance because I don't really have time to be today.
Does that mean no singing?
I think it means no singing, unless I really want to. Just to bug you and make you smile. Look at that happy face.
It's a smile.
Ready to dive into this slate?
Absolute hatred.
Houston, -4, heading to Charlotte here, 228.5. These teams, my friend, have absolutely nothing to play for besides God and country. And yet, we got a couple of plays that I think we can look at because it's massive minutes. Starting on the Houston side, Kevin Porter Jr., we're seeing him play up into late 30s minutes. Alperen Şengün been playing massive minutes, playing really, really well. Actually, defensively, they can still pretend like that's the reason that they weren't giving him run earlier, even though they weren't trying to win then either. That's beside the point. Jalen Green probably falls into a lineup or two if you're making a lot of lineups. Terry Eason. How are we handling Houston here? A team that seems like they're just going to keep doing what they've done all year.
Yeah, this is a team that they haven't had anything to play for a long time, but they're using that to get their young guys more experience. And so they're playing these guys huge minutes in competitive games. Now they get a favorable matchup against Charlotte. And so this is a pretty easy team to talk about because we're not waiting on injury news that matters. But you have Porter, you have Green, you have Şengün that are all mid-range players that at least have the ability to go get 50 plus fantasy points and like 45, 50 raw points. Basically, from an overview, like the way that I'm viewing this slate is you need to either be an extremely good point per dollar value or you need to be capable of giving me more than like 45 actual points. And all three of those guys can do it. None of them are great point per dollar values, but that's not their role on this slate. We have plenty of 3K guys that will be your value. Any of Şengün, Porter, Green can certainly give you that 50 fantasy point game here at modest ownership. So those guys all look pretty good. I'm not really interested in anything else. I don't totally get why Tari Eason is getting ownership. He doesn't fit either of the things that I just said. Like he's somebody that on a normal slate 2 months ago, it would be like, oh yeah, 5,100 Eason, he'll play 26 minutes. He could be okay. Here, he's not, barring, everything going sideways and somehow him playing like 30 something minutes. He's not really live to give you 50 fantasy points and he's not projecting for like 10 times his salary. So I don't really get why he's getting ownership.
Yeah, unless we get like the Orlando Magic news from yesterday where all of a sudden everybody's sitting out and then Eason is like the main component there, starting with like Deshaun Nix and Frank Kaminsky or something ridiculous like that. There's no way that I would play Terry Eason on this slate. Jabari Smith, I think, is more in play than Tari Eason is.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Jabari Smith's been playing big minutes. He's been playing well. I think he's a step behind Şengün, Porter, and Green, but he would be the fourth guy I played from this team.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's pretty consolidated up at the top there. Şengün, your priority. Center has some options today.
Yeah, yes. It's not a priority, but there's value at center, so it's going to be tough to pay up for guys, but still just a good tournament play. I think getting to Jalen Green and Porter is probably a little bit easier, but still like Şengün.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then we're waiting on the big piece on the other side. One of those centers who's now apparently probable, Mark Williams. Welcome to the fray. He hasn't played in 5 days now, hasn't played since the second there. 5,900, assuming that he ends up starting. He is the only guy pulling any ownership whatsoever. We're going to wait on the Dennis Smith Jr. news as well. He is questionable there. You could be running into 42 minutes of a 7K Teo Maledon. My God, what a time to be alive. Tell me about Charlotte.
Yeah, another pretty easy team here. Mark Williams, if he plays, is perfectly fine at 5,900. Still not a huge priority. I'm kind of surprised he's getting 14% ownership. I thought it would be a little bit lower. We have him with an 18% chance of being optimal. Thought that would be a little bit lower as well. But still, a good point per minute guy that, assuming he starts, is likely to give you around 30 minutes. Dennis Smith Jr., if he is in at 6,600, is fine as a last piece in. If he's out, the same goes for Teo Maledon at 7K, probably playing huge minutes, like you said. But other than that, I don't think there's really anything from this team.
Anything else from this game or move along?
No, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, we have precious time here. Miami -4 at Washington, 216.5. And you're running into this same exact situation on the Washington side where everybody sits. We're looking at completely different starting fives than we've had the entire rest of the year. But the Miami side is where it's really gotten interesting because apparently we're going to be getting Tyler Hero in our lives in quite a prominent way here. No Bam Adebayo to me, Butler, to my understanding. Look at this entire injury report. They said Kyle Lowry, he's not going to be playing. Tyler Hero is now officially out. Nikola Jovic, that doesn't matter whatsoever. And Kevin Love and Max Strus questionable, which become massive pieces of news. Is it just Victor Oladipo season here?
I think so. Oladipo looks really good at 3,500. I had mentioned him this morning that depending how this news broke, it was setting up for him to get plenty of minutes in a homecoming game in DC. And it broke that way. No Hero, no Butler, no Bam. Oladipo should just play a bunch of minutes. He should be the focal point of the offense. He's one of the only guys that actually can create at all and really do anything with the ball. So Oladipo looks great. Gabe Vincent at 4,400 looks okay as well. He's not pulling nearly as much ownership as Oladipo. And I think Oladipo should be more popular than Vincent. I do think Vincent is playable as well. Yurtsevен's getting some ownership at 3K. The last time that Bam was out, we got Cody Zeller starting. Zeller played about 29 minutes. Kevin Love was his backup instead of Yurtseven, but that was a game where it was just Bam out. They weren't missing Butler. They weren't missing Hero. And then we might have Love out today anyway. Pretty likely we have Love out today anyway. So good chance that Yurtseven ends up being the backup center, giving you something like 20 to 22 minutes at 3K, which is going to be a pretty solid option. We have him projected for 26 DraftKings points right now. So he's certainly playable. There is some risk there if he comes off the bench because you could get a different rotation. It wouldn't be the first time this year that we've tried to play a Miami backup center and they've gone with a different one. I know that we tried it with Jovic and they play Robinson. We tried it with Robinson and they play Jovic. So you could certainly get a situation here where we all play Yurtseven and they play Orlando Robinson. But Yurtseven seems like the most likely candidate to back up Cody Zeller. Zeller's 4,700, so it's not as good a value there.
Yeah, Strus is kind of the one piece that I'm paying attention to for the news where it's like, if he ends up playing, I would want to get to him because that Q tag next to him. I mean, there's so many players that are in play for this slate that it's not like you're going to call anybody a quote unquote priority other than Victor Oladipo, probably a confirmed priority.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm definitely there with you. Shout out Omer Yurtseven, the Sioux Falls Skyforce great from this season. Shout out my home city. Good stuff. He just smashed there. 3K flat. Yet another center there. Going to the Washington side, at least we have some familiarity here with this team, but God, it is hard to get to them at these inflated tags across. Nothing like seeing a 6,200 Delon Wright, a 6,500 Daniel Gafford coming off a smash, a 5,900 Jordan Goodwin, 5,800 Johnny Davis. We don't have to think about anybody here today, do we?
No, I don't think so. I said it this morning. I think that when you look back in hindsight, if there does end up being one guy from Washington that you're like, oh, I wish I had him, it's probably Jay Huff. You've seen him play 27 and then 30 minutes off the bench. He's been a good point per minute guy, but you still can't actually expect him to just play 28 minutes on average backing up Gafford. If you did, then he'd be okay at 4,600, but there's still going to be better center values that, save you some money and let you pay up elsewhere. And, there's still a chance that he just plays 22, 24 minutes. So with that price tag coming up, I'm not going there. Delon Wright coming back takes minutes away from some combination of Nunn, Goodwin, Johnny Davis. They all became more expensive as well. This is one of the least appealing teams on the slate.
I'm totally with you. Anything else from this game?
Nope.
Very cool. Very cool. We have going with MLB. I believe they just extended this till Monday, so you want to be taking advantage of it. Code play ball, just $9 for your first 9 days. We have the top pitchers tool, the top stacks tool, everything you need to be profitable in DFS on the MLB side of things. It's just getting rocking, just getting rolling. It's all of 1 week into MLB, and now you have a great opportunity. Just $9 for everything to try out here. Again, projections, ownership, top stacks, top pitchers, top data, lineup generator, internal Discord. Yes, you can jump in the Discord even for those 9 days. Talk a little baseball with guys who are doing it 24/7 over there. Great stuff. So $9 for your first 9 days using promo code PLAYBALL. Really no reason not to take advantage of that. You're going to be looking for something. There's a couple of days starting Monday, Tuesday, where we're not going to have a play-in tournament game rate from the get-go. There's going to be a little bit of a lull here for NBA. So if you want to try out MLB that Monday, you should really be targeting that Monday to be able to try it out here. So 9 days kind of leading you into the NBA playoffs, kind of a perfect amount of time to try it out. So promo code PLAYBALL, $9 for your first 9 days of all that great MLB content here at Stochastic. All righty, our next game on the board, making our way downtown, walking fast, paces Hassan, our homebound, Detroit, Indiana, 232.5. Detroit, we've seen Jaden Ivey playing massive minutes, playing really well for the most part. This is more of the first rounder that was promised to them, but he's sitting at 7,500 now. He does feel like one of those guys that fits your criteria of can they smash, put up 45 plus and be able to go. Does him or Killian Hayes, anybody in that backcourt interest you from the Detroit side?
Those are pretty much the only two that interest me from the Detroit side. Ivy more than Hayes, just because like Hayes has the more favorable salary, but Ivy's the one that's just more likely to go get 50 fantasy points. He's the higher usage guy, better scorer. Hayes on normal slates would look better than Ivy at these prices, but on this particular slate, I prefer getting to Ivy just because he does project 7 to 8 points better than Killian Hayes. Hayes is fine as well, but I prefer getting to Ivy. Other than that, I don't think there's much here, assuming that Marvin Bagley is back in the starting lineup and one of Jalen Duren or Wiseman goes back to the bench. Because if that's the case, you're expecting 48 minutes combined from Wiseman and Duren. And on this slate, even if you tell me in advance which one of them is going to play 27 or 28 minutes, they're not going to look that great at a loaded center position at increased price tags, playing fewer minutes. If they bring Bagley off the bench, you could at least entertain the idea of going to Duren or Wiseman if they still started next to each other. They'd still be risky because you are adding Bagley into that front court rotation. But assuming that Bagley starts, I don't have interest in really anything here outside of Ivy and to some extent Hayes.
Yeah, 2 Detroit games ago, you had Jalen Duren kind of quietly sneak into the starting lineup. He just smashed against Miami. That was a fun day for me. But then Brooklyn, you end up running into crazy ownership there. Even if he ends up in, I feel like there's enough risk there just by having all 3 of them where I'd probably hit eject. Would you be playing Jalen Duren starting if he ends up in the starting lineup over one of those 2?
If he's starting over Wiseman, I still don't really like it. I mean,
same.
Like it because like he probably plays 28 to 30 minutes. I just don't really know what that gets you here. It would make him playable. It just wouldn't be something I'd be expecting to get a lot of. If he starts next to Wiseman, I like it a little bit more because then it just opens the door for them to play more minutes combined. But Bagley being back still kind of throws a wrench into it.
Yeah, and Bagley, he played those 9 minutes before he got dinged up. It was on the 2nd, so it's been 5 days. Maybe he plays limited minutes and you run into something there. But yeah, I think regardless, if Duren is starting and it's alongside Bagley, I'm probably just not going to be touching it whatsoever. So I'm with you there. I'm glad that that's kind of the same way you see it. Going to Indiana, this is another team that just feels like a write-off. Another team that has been in our lineups once upon a time here. Jalen Smith, I suppose, is the one piece that we've got to pay attention to news. Maybe that would open up Isaiah Jackson a little bit more at 4,400. He's always been a good fantasy point per minute guy, just about 1.1 on the season. But anything that interests you from the Indiana side?
Yeah, I mean, still waiting on news there. If Turner and Smith are both out, I do think that bumps the projection for Isaiah Jackson. You'd just be more likely to go from 24 minutes or so with Jalen Smith backing him up to 28 to 30. He's 4,400. He's a good point per minute guy. There are still guys on the Pacers that could mess that up. Daniel Tice could play more than we expect. James Johnson could play more than we expect. But it is likely that you would get more playing time from Isaiah Jackson if they're both out, and he would end up looking decent at 4,400. If everybody is in, I don't really like anything from this team. If McConnell is out, maybe like Buddy Hield and Mathurin and Nembhard start to look a little bit better, but I still don't think they look good enough that I would really want much of them.
I just want to say, is this the first time you've ever timed somebody out in the chat ever?
No, I time him out every time he says something.
That's great. I was like, I don't even think he said anything specifically, but I just love that you did it. You look at you flexing your power.
It's just like it distracts me because he says so much dumb shit, and I get like caught up in that. So it's easier to just make it go away.
Kind of like doing a show with me, right?
Yeah, I definitely can't multitask between both of you.
You can only take one of the two of us, and mostly neither of us.
Yeah.
You miss me?
Talking or
no? You miss me?
no? But
No.
I would like it if you just kept the show moving.
Oh, okay. We'll keep that going then. Anything else from this game for you?
No.
Cool. Orlando, Brooklyn said, I'm efficient. I keep it moving. Just keep things moving, Orlando, Brooklyn here next up. And we're going to need a second on this one for sure. We're looking on the Orlando side, and we saw that everybody got ruled questionable, but we're still waiting. And it's weird that they just didn't play anybody in their home closer yesterday. That was just an absolute shit show. But I don't really know what's going on here with Orlando. It feels like a wait and see approach, considering everybody's been upgraded to questionable. Maybe the NBA made a phone call and said, bad, Orlando, bad. And now they have to play a couple of these guys. If they do, we just kind of avoid it. Or do you run into enough minutes of Paolo Banchero to maybe make that interesting? I don't know what to make of this team, but that news today was a little bit strange to me.
Yeah, it was really weird. And I don't know what to make of it. So we do know that Wendell Carter is still out. So we should still be getting value from Bol and Goga. It's just a matter of what are we doing with the rest of the team? Batadze and Bol, like I assume Batadze will start and Bol will back him up. Bol has power forward eligibility. He's 3,600. Batadze is 3,300 at center. They both look decent if everybody's in. They'll both look better if guys get ruled out, because then you would probably get Bol starting alongside Batadze, which could mean more minutes for Batadze, more minutes for Bol. But if all the starters are in, they look like decent values, but not the same, two of the top plays on the slate that we had this morning. As far as the rest of them, though, like if everybody is in, sure, you can go to Banchero the same way you can go to somebody like Jalen Green and just, hope he plays 34 minutes and plays well. But I don't have a lot of confidence in that. I'm more confident in the Houston guys because they've been in this situation for weeks now and playing their guys huge minutes every night. Whereas Orlando is clearly just not, like, we don't know what they're doing here. Yeah. If everybody is in, like, I don't think you can really get to a $4,100 Suggs. If everybody ends up being out, you can certainly go back to Suggs. Still only played like 24 minutes yesterday, but with nobody else on the team, like none of the other actual rotation guys playing, he just, still has kind of the reign to do whatever he wants. So even in 24, 25 minutes, he'd be fine. And he certainly could play more than that. So we're kind of just in a holding pattern on this team for the most part.
Yeah, and we've got Live Before Lock coming up after this, so we'll have the guys cover you for 90 minutes leading you up to tip of that game, or excuse me, lock of that game for sure. There's going to be something that changes here drastically, one way or another. If you get everybody ruled out, I mean, I guess that's probably the right way to look at it. I would be surprised if it was just like a piece or two of Orlando that played. It feels to me that either like we're getting Banchero, Fultz, Wagner, like their main three in, or we're just getting all three out.
Yeah, it seems like it would be weird for some of them to play and some not to.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. So they'll be able to cover those iterations of it. I mean, Bol would become very, very interesting in a capacity where all three were out again.
Yeah, and you get the potential to. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say 30 minutes yesterday. I got to imagine that's where you would lowball him at for this one, too.
Yeah, like if everybody is in, he's still playable. He just looks a lot better if they're all out. But like Chuma Okiki, for example, if everybody's in, Chuma Okiki is basically useless. If they're all out, you're getting a 3K Okiki probably in the starting lineup as another value piece.
Yeah, wait
and
and
one
see
other
approach.
thing that we didn't mention, and it's easy to overlook, but Jay Scrubb is out tonight. He played like 27 minutes yesterday. So if you were to get Orlando ruling all of these guys out, they actually could be more shorthanded than yesterday. The difference being maybe Cole Anthony actually gets off the bench today.
Yeah. How dumb was that?
Very.
That was extraordinarily dumb. Yeah. It's like he's been coming up with the second unit the entire time, and then, oh, you know what? We're actually going to protect him and not play him today. Okay, cool, good story.
Yeah, there's been a lot of like, oh, we should have known when he didn't start, but like them not starting Anthony and Suggs together is pretty normal.
Yep. I wasn't surprised by it at all. I was shocked that he didn't come off the bench at any point yesterday, but I guess nothing should really shock us coming late season NBA. There's a lot of things in play, a lot of things we're going to plan for today that aren't going to break your way more than likely. So make more than one lineup, probably the right way to do it. All right, let's go to Brooklyn here, shall we? Because this is a team with something to play for. They are currently 6th in the Eastern Conference there. They want to continue to sit above there, but now with Miami packing it in, assuming because, once again, Miami just looking at a spot where everybody's now sitting out from that side of it. They're basically saying, oh, well, Brooklyn gets this cream puff Orlando matchup. If Orlando pieces get ruled in, this might be a more competitive basketball game for sure. But regardless, I think Spencer Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Nicholas Claxton, your usuals, the guys with the actual upside on that team, become a little bit interesting to me today. What's your game plan with Brooklyn?
Yeah, this is one that's pretty straightforward. Dinwiddie and Bridges are your two guys that are most likely to go get 45 or 50. Bridges a little bit more likely than Dinwiddie since he is the higher usage guy. He's also a little bit more expensive, but they both project around 40 DraftKings points. Clearly have the upside for more. No problems getting to them at pretty low ownership. The next tier would be Claxton and Cam Johnson. They're both technically playable, but they're a step behind Dinwiddie and Bridges. And then after that, there's absolutely nothing.
We got a lot of people who like the combination of you and me, a lot of people who don't like the combination of, well, just me, because I come in and I kind of just enjoy myself. I have fun talking about sports. I apologize. And that's my dog, so that's cool. Adam legitimately missed me. That's just a fact. There's no denying that.
I forgot you worked here and it was so nice. When I came in I hadn't looked at the schedule to see who I was doing the show with. I just assumed it was Laffy. I came in the room and I was just like, oh shit, Eric is still on shows.
Great. So that's nice. Anything else from this basketball game to talk about?
No.
Toronto -1.5, Boston 221.5. Toronto, they're playing for something. Boston, they sat Jaylen Brown. We'll talk about the Toronto side first. How you feeling about a team with something to play for with a lot of upside options? We should utilize some of them in our lineups now.
Suddenly you're like crying as you talk.
I'm fine. I'm okay. It's just that hilarious. I look up to you as a peer and as a influential person in this industry, and now I'm crushed. But it's okay. Keep going. Keep going.
It's fine. I wasn't going to apologize. It's just entertaining.
That's great. I tried the bit, and then it's whatever. Continue on. Go ahead.
Toronto is another one of those teams. Like it's Nick Nurse coaching. You expect these guys to play big minutes. Van Vliet and Siakam would be the two that I'm most likely to get to. There's a ton of other guys that look like them, if not a little bit better. But they're playable. Everything else, I think, is pretty much not playable.
Yep. It's pretty straightforward basketball team. It's nice to have one of these on this slate.
Yeah, exactly.
That feels like the most straightforward one we've had. It's kind of similar with Brooklyn, where it's like, oh, you have 3 options that should play more than the other ones that have higher fantasy outputs than the other ones, and we should probably land on them. Same thing here. Siakam just fitting into lineups. Fred VanVleet feels like you could play the Scotty Barnes game any odd day, and he'll just randomly put up 50, so that's always nifty.
Yeah, if you make me play a Raptor that isn't VanVleet or Siakam, it would be Scotty Barnes, but I think he's kind of like I think he's a distant third behind VanVleet Siakam, and I think he's a distant third, or like Pirtle is a distant fourth behind Barnes.
Totally. I'm completely with you. But this is the side of it where I don't know what's going on. I'm very confused. So we get Jaylen Brown ruled out. So that's good to know. We are waiting on Brogdon, White, and Smart news. I have no interest in playing pretty much anybody on this team besides Jason Tatum, but there's a part of me where I see he's coming up in a quarter of lineups. Would it shock anybody if he ended up playing very limited minutes in a spot where Boston pretty much locked into where they are at that 2 seed? There's nothing that can really change for them. Jason Tatum playing 28 minutes feels like a very real thing to me. And it doesn't feel like the field feels that way, which is pretty interesting. How are you planning to break down this team, specifically Jason Tatum, who's pulling quite a bit of ownership as one of your only spend ups?
Yeah, I mean, he's like the only guy I'm really interested in from this team. He does look better without Brown. As far as the playing time goes, I think that's a legitimate concern. But kind of like we were talking about with Vooch before, you pointed out that he's played every game this year, and that does change my opinion on him specifically. But when these guys play, I typically assume they're playing at least like close to normal minutes because these teams don't want, like, they're not trying to like ramp guys down. Like they do have the postseason coming up. Tatum did, just sit out one of the games of the back-to-back. So if they're putting him out there, I guess kind of the way I think about it is there's no real difference. Like the difference in your likelihood of getting hurt in 28 minutes versus like 34 minutes is very, very, very small compared to the difference in your likelihood of getting hurt in 0 minutes versus 28 minutes. So like, if you're going to take the risk of putting him out there in a meaningless game, why are you just going to do it for 28 minutes instead of 34? Like, what if he's going to go out there and play? And you see it happen a lot of times in these situations. If he's going to go out there and play, typically he's going to play something close to his normal minutes. Like, I wouldn't expect he's going out there and playing 40. I didn't expect Durant to go play 41 last night either. But
yeah, my God.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think expecting like 34-ish from Tatum makes sense. It kind of gives you...
It's such a... I mean, De'Aaron Fox just played 32 minutes on a back-to-back in a game that Sacramento, I didn't feel like they could really move anywhere, but apparently they still kind of have an outside shot of catching Memphis in a spot where Memphis loses both, Sacramento wins both. But that situation was a little weird to me, where I thought there were going to be Sacramento pieces that got rested. They didn't. And then it was just like 32 and 34 minutes of Fox and Sabonis in a spot where if you were trying to win the game, you would have played them a lot more. If I put Jason Tatum in, we have him currently for 36 and a half minutes, which is kind of why I throw that out there. Feels like a pretty large projection on a guy that there's no meaning to this game for Boston whatsoever. I don't know what to make of White, Brogdon, Smart. I have no feel for that news. Do you?
I don't have feel for that news. I think White and Pritchard went through shoot around. I could have the names wrong there. To your point on the projection, I do think that like a 34-minute projection makes more sense. The reason just being that I typically try and think in terms of like balancing it out. Like if he goes 2 minutes over, 2 minutes under, am I equally, surprised, like not surprised, I guess. 38 minutes feels a lot less likely to me than 34 minutes, whereas like 32 and 36 feel similar. So like I feel like 34 kind of is where I would want to go.
Yeah, I'm with you. And again, Toronto, they could go to the 8 seed over Atlanta if, everything falls into place, but they would need to win both. Atlanta would need to lose one of the last two. They have a pretty easy matchup here today that we'll talk about in a second, but pretty interesting spot where it's like, would Boston truly play this one straight up with Jason Tatum? Feels unlikely to me, but we shall see. Anything else from Boston that interests you?
Nope.
If you get White, Brogdon, and Smart out, is there anything that kind of comes to the surface there?
If all of them are out, maybe. But Pritchard potentially if he's in. In the context of the slate, though, like everybody's still relatively expensive. You'll still be able to find similar plays that are just $2,000 less than most guys.
Good point.
Like when you talk about like a Grant Williams, for example, or a Sam Hauser, like on this particular slate, I think it's still kind of like, who cares?
I'm totally with you. All righty. Anything else from this game?
Nope.
Cool. We're going to do one more. We'll talk a little bit of No House Advantage, our friends over there, and then we will just fly through these. Again, we're making great time, 42 minutes until live before lock. Looking forward to that one. I'll drop a couple tiers off with Greg here on the way out, but we're going to Philadelphia 11.5 point dogs going up against Atlanta. And I said that just a second ago. Oh, why is it such an easy matchup? Well, when you don't have anybody playing on the Philadelphia side, this team looks completely different. No Joel Embiid, no James Harden, no Tyrese Maxey, no D'Anthony Melton, no PJ Tucker. Tobias Harris sits there questionable. I would be shocked if he played basketball today. Are you on board with that?
I'd be surprised. I don't know if I would say shocked. I'd be surprised.
Okay.
The only reason I wouldn't say shocked is because they already ruled everybody else out and they didn't touch him. So it makes me think that maybe they have some reason for wanting him to play. As Josh put it, maybe they want him to go remember how to play basketball since he's been the fifth option all year long.
Remember that they're paying him a shit ton of money to be better than what he's been.
Yeah, I mean, Maxey is also just kind of emerged as that guy.
He's freaky good. I really like him.
But yeah, it seems like Harris shouldn't play. I don't know if he will.
All right. So is it just straight up? I don't want to be jamming chalk if I'm going to play this slate today, but Shake Milton, sub 4K, Jalen McDaniels, if you get Tobias Harris ruled out, those two would be pretty quintessential pieces, I think. Shake Milton, though, let's start with him. How do you feel about 41% owned Shake Milton today?
Yeah, I mean, he looks really good. I think you can certainly argue that 41% is higher than his chances of being optimal, just given that there's going to be 100 guys that he's competing with to be like the best play at 4K. But certainly one of the more higher probability guys that you can get to there. As long as you can find contrarian plays around him, there shouldn't really be an issue. And it's not very difficult to find contrarian plays today because you have so many guys like 7K and above that are all just 5 to 10% owned. It is still an 11 game slate, even though it feels small because of the value pieces getting so much ownership. A lot of the top 10 guys aren't that popular. So you should be able to, find some ownership to offset him. And he should get a ton of minutes here. He should play a huge role. He's the only real, he should be getting pretty much all the point guard minutes. So he certainly looks fantastic.
Yeah, I was getting a little weirded out that we hadn't gotten any news while we were on this show because it feels like that's all we got this entire morning, afternoon. Jalen Smith out, TJ McConnell out, Isaiah Jackson season. Welcome to the program. That'll be fun. I don't even know what to do with any backup there or what they would do other than just play Isaiah Jackson a ton of minutes, but guess we'll figure that one out. Let's go to other pieces from Philadelphia here. Furkan Korkmaz wouldn't surprise me. We've had a couple of these spots where he'll just play a ton of minutes, considering he's been out of the rotation this entire season. Maybe they just eat some minutes with him. I think Jaden Springer probably makes sense as somebody that could also maybe play more minutes than we think. He can actually be serviceable from a fantasy point per minute rate, 1.13 on the year. Anything else to kind of mine out from Philly?
So if Paul Reed starts at 5K, that's interesting.
Yeah.
If he comes off the bench, there's still a ceiling there. It just becomes that much riskier. If you want to gamble on guys like Springer, McDaniels, especially if Harris is out, that's fine. But one way or the other, I think that the clear priority is Milton.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Milton pretty obviously, and then other pieces pending news and starting lineups. Feels like that's going to be what it is for a lot of things. But Atlanta, on the other side, they are playing for something. DeAndre Hunter is questionable coming into this game, going to be a game time decision. But you get Trae Young sitting sub 9K. That's got to be pretty appealing on this slate. Nothing else that's really a priority. I would probably play a shot or two on DeJounte Murray, I suppose. But break down Atlanta. Pretty clear cut here. Yeah,
Trae Young, the clear priority, relatively inexpensive. And salary doesn't matter on this slate in the sense that you can get to whoever you want. It does still matter, though, from a combinations standpoint. Going to somebody like Trae Young at 8,900 is going to allow you to make some upgrades elsewhere in your lineup compared to paying, 10K for somebody that projects similarly. So it does still matter a little bit with these guys at the top. It's just not as important as you have a lot more flexibility than on other slates, but it does still matter at least a little bit. Cheap price tag on him, and also a spot that Atlanta needs to win. So one of the few teams on the slate that you can expect them to actually give their guys big minutes. You don't have to worry about random bullshit with their rotation. And it's, again, a favorable price tag for him. I'm with you on DeJounte Murray. He is only $500 less than Young. Young projects, we have him 9 points better. You can obviously have your own takes on the specific numbers, but Young certainly projects better. And it kind of just forces DeJounte Murray into a purely contrarian pivot category, but he is going to play big minutes, and he is a very good player that can go get 50 fantasy points. He's just less likely to do so than Trae Young at basically the same price.
Amazing. Anything else from this game?
Nope. I saw people in chat saying DeAndre Hunter is typically, or no, sorry, they're saying Patrick Williams. So ignore that. We will talk about Patrick Williams when we get there.
We shall indeed, but we're going to get to know House Advantage here first, our sponsor of this lovely program. And it's a really great site to go check out for a lot of reasons. One, they have a great format in terms of being able to play peer-to-peer contests. And two, their Pick'em has some of the best payout structure of any other site. And you know the sites that I'm talking about, the places where you're able to go play player props. You're able to combine them into 2, 3, 4, or 5 player cards, combine them into one grouping, and be able to make some serious cash on it. And No House Advantage has the best payout structure because, again, you can get up to 21x your entry fee on a 5-player card, whereas other places, it's normally 10x. So, saying, test your skills versus the house. Check out the versus the house format. And over here at Stochastic as well, if you have BetPro, you have access to everything that we offer there for projections for that versus the house format, which is just really, really fun to put together. Those are, different than their payout structures where they have for their main contests, their peer-to-peer contests. These numbers do change throughout the day. So that's one big change. Somebody had DM'd me before asking me about, I thought No House Advantage doesn't change their projections. Well, they do on the versus the house. So you want to be able to go beat lines. You want to go take advantage of news. This is one of the best sites you can go do that at, to be able to go try your hand at versus the house and pick 'em formats. We also have a great promo code, as always, here to be able to sign up using promo code Stochastic to get $100 free first match deposit bonus. So deposit match up to $100, deposit 50, you're going to get 50, deposit 100, you're going to get 100. So many great things to check out over at Versus the House, and MLB props will be getting dropped. Look at that. You have Waldichuk, Eflin, so many different pieces in the MLB streets that you can take advantage. So if you have all the projections that we have here at Stochastic for the MLB, you can use that and interlace that with No House Advantage as well. So whether it's MLB, NBA props, whatever it is, take advantage of it over at No House Advantage and use promo code Stochastic when you sign up at nohouseadvantage.com or at the app. Go check that out, Google Play or in the Apple Store. Cool, guys. No House Advantage, thank you so much to them for their continued sponsorship all season long for all of our great content. Next up on the board, we go to Memphis, Milwaukee. And Memphis, I don't really know what's going on here. I'm trying to figure out the implications of what they're doing here. They're 2 back at Denver. They can't catch Denver. Denver has the tiebreaker, so they're the 1 seed. They're 2 games up on Sacramento, and in some strange world, if they were to lose both and Sacramento wins both, I think there's a chance that Sacramento has to be the 2 seed from my understanding. So I think Memphis plays this game straight up, and yet nobody's really pulling ownership here. Do you think that's warranted?
The thing that I like from Memphis is, even ignoring the very small percentage that they could fall to the 3, Taylor Jenkins has said that he wants his starters playing big minutes to close out the season to get ready for the postseason. Because keep in mind, this is a team that plays a deep rotation typically during the season. That's something that usually holds back Ja Morant, holds back Desmond Bane, is that they're very good point per minute guys, but other players in their price range play 3-4 minutes more than them in competitive games. That's not the case right now. Ja Morant's playing 35, 36 minutes per game. Desmond Bane's been playing more than that. So they're both expensive, but this kind of goes back to where salary matters, but not that much. Like, you can just kind of pretend Ja Morant costs $9,500 and you're going to get very similar lineups.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested at the lack of ownership for what I expect to be 35 minutes of Ja Morant against Milwaukee's second unit. What I expect to be 32 minutes barring foul trouble from Jaren Jackson, 36 minutes from Desmond Bane. Like, all of these are very possible outcomes, and there's just no ownership coming in here.
I didn't mean to lead the witness or have you think the same way I did, but I had a feeling you felt the same way, where you have a 1.5, 1.3, and 1.2 fantasy point per minute producers that are pulling no ownership in a game they're trying to win. And I get it that they're pricing 8,600, 8,800, 10.4. It's more expensive than you would generally be paying for them. But on a slate like this, I really don't care. Just give me all of them you got.
I just timed out the wrong person. Sorry, Rod.
See, you're a bad person. See, karma. You got to be nice to Eric. That's what it is. Or not. You don't have to do that. It's not in your contract, I suppose. Milwaukee, on the other side of this one, Bobby Portis. I am a little bit a little bit nervous about this one because it's pretty easy to pull the hook on Bobby Portis if he's playing really, really well, like he has the last two. Put up big numbers, starting to play the Bobby Portis basketball. Where was this all season long when you had all three of Giannis, Drew Holiday, and Middleton out before? Like, why couldn't we have gotten this Bobby Portis earlier on any of those slates? Feels like we never did. Alas, he's 35.5% owned today here on DK currently. Do you think that's warranted?
Yeah, I mean, he looks really good. And we do have, as usual, more centers and more guards than we do forwards. Played 37 minutes in his start in place of Giannis last game. Certainly not saying that you should expect 37 minutes from him, but you also don't need 37 minutes probably at 7,800 being like the only offensive player on this team. So again, like I think he's going over-owned relative to optimal percentage, but you have to keep in mind too that you're pretty much never making the optimal lineup on an 11-game NBA slate. He's a high probability play and certainly looks very good here.
Oh, I shouldn't play my cash lineup in GPPs anymore?
What?
No, I'm just saying you're not playing the optimal lineup because you would dupe it multiple times over.
Well, I meant like
this
actual
point in time.
optimal lineup, like that like last night, for example, had Danny Green. I think like you're never building that lineup.
You're not landing on that one,
right?
Okay, now I see what you're saying. Yes, yeah, you're not building for that. You're not building for the 0.2% guy that you have to get right.
Right. This isn't MMA. You don't need the actual best possible lineup to win a tournament.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. Now we're on the same page there. Are we on the same page that I think Javon Carter could be the most slept on fantasy option for this entire slate today?
I'm surprised he's not getting more ownership. I mean, the salary,
we're on board with the same thing. Let's go.
The salary obviously is a problem in the sense that like if he were 3,600, he would just be one of the clear best plays. But this is a fantasy point per minute guy without Giannis, Middleton, or Holiday on the floor. Assuming he starts, you should be expecting him to play, pretty big minutes here at no ownership or very little ownership. I think he's a pretty good play.
Yeah, I think he's a fantastic play. I think he could run into some extra minutes there. Anybody else? Because Marion Beauchamp is pulling 7% ownership, which I kind of get, but I kind of don't on this slate.
Yeah, I get it in the sense that like if you just build out 150 lineups, he's probably going to land in some because he's 3,600. But there's just so many good point per minute guys that I don't really want to be getting the Beauchamp, especially if he's getting some ownership.
Okay. It feels like the weirdest play out of the Milwaukee side to me, whereas like I can make a case to play a lot more Javon Carter than 6.6%. Bobby Portis is already pulling ownership. I think that that's warranted, and I might be a little bit hesitant to maybe pull the trigger. If I have a pretty chalky lineup, he might be somebody that I can make a case where it's pretty easy to see a way that those minutes get pulled away where they might actually want to be utilizing him later down the line. He was a huge part of their title run. I think not that he would be a massive part of their title run here, but definitely an important piece off the bench. So anything else for Milwaukee?
No, I think it's pretty much Portis is the priority. Javon Carter is good if you get some. Beauchamp as a value is okay from a point per dollar standpoint, but I think there's guys with much higher ceilings than him that you can also get to. Kevin Love and Miles Turner are both out.
That's what I just saw come through. So Max Strus on track to play Friday. There you go. That sucks. I didn't want that. Let's see. 4,500 Max Strus probably going to be starting here. Just another guy that you get to. Would have been nice to have maybe a little bit thinner rotation there, but talked about it before. Might have to have some interest there. As weird as that is. Good times. Good times.
Yeah. Love being out should solidify backup center minutes for whoever the backup center is. My guess is Yurtseven. That's not locked in, but you don't have to worry about Kevin Love being the backup center here like he was last time Bam was out.
All righty. Let's continue on our merry way here and hit that like button while we're at it too. I never do these Friday afternoon shows. I'm pretty much never on Deeper Diver live before lock anymore. Probably because I can't say the words live before lock. That's probably why I can't do it. But also just doing a lot of Odd Shopper content. Come hang out over there. Check out everything that we have to offer over at the Odd Shopper YouTube channel as well. Great betting content for everybody. Check it out. We have the chalkboard going that's live for everybody now. We have the premium Discord that's live for everybody now. So many great offerings here at Stochastic behind the scenes for all the betting content. You kind of need some help on days like today. Let's jump over to the Knicks are up next here for us. They are 8.5-point dogs on the road here, playing a team that has something to play for. And we will be looking at one guy in particularly from this game, but the Knicks. Manuel Quickley is 9K. That's wild. Obi Toppin, 6,200 there. Nobody pulling any ownership. I don't know what to make of anybody's minutes. I got to imagine you don't want Emmanuel Quickley playing 40 minutes tonight, but this is Tom Thibodeau we're talking about here. He has no regard for human life. Anything from the Knicks you have a feel for?
I'm interested in Quickley still at no ownership. I get that the price tag is high. I think he's playing a ton. They asked Thibodeau before his last game if he planned on sort of taking his foot off the gas, and he told the reporter he didn't understand the question, and then followed up by saying, no, we still have things that we're trying to figure out and improve on, and blah blah blah. He said, if guys are dealing with a nagging injury, then yeah, they're not going to play, but other than that, like, we're playing. And then you got the last game where you got 43 minutes from Grimes, 40 whatever from Toppin, 40 from Quickley. I'm expecting Quickley to play a lot. Like, does it have to be 40? No, but it could be. I do expect at least like mid to upper 30. So it's not a priority in the sense that like you're jamming him in the lineups, but I don't necessarily think he should be 1/7 the ownership of Trae Young, for example.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit wonky. I'm pretty sure RJ Barrett doesn't play basketball today. Are you pretty sure of that too? It'd be a weird spot to bring him back for.
I don't feel good one way or the other on that one. He does matter a little bit. Like, if he's in, there's going to be plenty of shot volume for him. That doesn't necessarily mean anything because he's not very good at making them, but the opportunities would be there. If he's out, it does help solidify the minutes for the trio of Toppin, Hart, and Grimes. Because if Barrett is in, obviously he's playing, a bunch of minutes. You're going to get Hart getting some minutes at the 4 in place of Toppin, or you're going to get, Hart taking minutes from Grimes potentially. So it kind of just makes those guys who are difficult to get to one way or the other even more difficult to get to. If Barrett's out, you could at least consider taking shots on like Toppin or Hart. But if Barrett's in, I think it's pretty much just getting to a little bit of low and Quickly.
All right. That's pretty much all there is for the Knicks side. Pretty much all there is on the Pelican side is Brandon Ingram at the moment. I think CJ McCollum isn't completely out of the realm at 8K. Should be somebody that in a game that they must win, if he gets it going, could see 38 minutes, 40 minutes perhaps in a spot where, again, if it's competitive, more competitive than what we think, it is just a 7-point spread. And, Emmanuel Quickley, if he's playing basketball, he can definitely still do some stuff to make this game competitive. But Brandon Ingram, 10K, no problem with it whatsoever. How about you?
No problem at all. Playing huge minutes on one of the few teams that needs to win tonight. And the entire offense has been running through him since he came back from injury. He's played 13 games over the last month, 31.5% usage rate. That's high, but it's not, crazy high for him. 37% assist percentage. That is massive. You are just getting Brandon Ingram doing everything for this offense. He's averaged just shy of 1.4 DraftKings points per minute over that stretch. It makes him look great. CJ McCollum, I'm with you just based on playing time and scoring ability. He's probably getting slept on a little bit at only 3% owned at 8K because he is likely to give you 37, 38 minutes. He's only been a fantasy point per minute guy in those games that Ingram's been back because his usage rate is down to about 24%. His assist percentage is down to 21%. But still plenty of upside for him at very low ownership where you can expect him to play a ton of minutes.
CJ McCollum, I think I already kind of said from the get-go, I might have some interest there. Trey Murphy, Herbert Jones, anything else? Because again, is this the slate you want to try to figure out Jonas Valanciunas' minutes?
Yeah, I'm good. I think Ingram and McCollum are the two that we get to.
Yeah, I think that's kind of pretty straightforward. Anything else from this game?
Nope.
Okay, we're 23 minutes in. We're 3 games out. That's beautiful. We'll talk about Chicago here in 1 second. I think I had one other thing to bring up. Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Bet 365 for everybody over there in these 4 great states. Check them out. You got Virginia, New Jersey, Ohio, Colorado. I'll repeat them for you again. If you live in one of these 4 states, Colorado, Virginia, Ohio, or New Jersey, Bet365 has the most ridiculous offer you could possibly sign up for right now. You bet $1 when you deposit $10 or more at Bet365. They had to use this picture. Jordan, why didn't you use anybody else's picture? Had to use my picture here? Whatever. Whatever. The deal speaks for itself. Bet $1, get yourself $200 in bonus bets and look happy and enjoyable with jazz hands like I do in that photograph. Yay, $200 in bonus bets just for you over at Bet365. That is great stuff. Unlike that picture, that's for sure. But I repeat, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, Colorado. Take advantage of that offer now. It's not going to be up there forever. So when you bet $1 on anything, doesn't matter what it is, you get $200 in bonus bets right now. Sign up in that link below. Yes, go to the link, sign up for it. And while you're at it, smash that like button so that, I don't know, I can come back from the depths and show up on a show or two when I feel like it. Turning into a little bit of a diva over here. That's what it is. No, definitely not. I've got Adam for that.
I'll say only enough room for one of those on the show.
So I was gonna say, I've got 1% of the diva covered here. I'm ready to rock to the next one, and I think this is the one that I have the most tournament interest relative to the field at the moment. It's the Chicago Bulls facing the Dallas Mavericks. We have an 8-point favorite now. It's now moved a little bit there, but Dallas, pretty big favorites here. But we'll get to that side of it next year. I want to start on the Chicago side. Nikola Vucevic, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. If you missed it, he's played in 80 games so far this season. It's really weird to be looking at the injury report and have DeMar DeRozan out for rest, Zach LaVine out for injury management, Patrick Beverley out, Alex Caruso questionable, and then Vooch not even on the injury report, which I smell something in the air, and I think it's Vooch playing like one stint and not coming back into this game. One, does that make sense to you? And two, what do we do about it?
It does make sense to me. Obviously, it's not a guarantee, but that just seems that's the best explanation that I can think of or that I've heard for what they're doing, because they have nothing to play for here. They're locked into the 10 seed in the East. They're resting LaVine. They're resting DeRozan. It's not like Vooch is trying to get back into game shape after missing time or something. Like, Vooch has played all season long. The most logical thing to me is that he wants to start every game. It just really strikes me as the Kevon Looney spot from earlier in the season when Golden State rested everybody except Kevon Looney. And it was like, what are they doing? And then it was like, oh, he started X number of games in a row, or he's played X number of games in a row. And he came out, he started the first half, never came back into the game. Somebody else started the second half in his place. Again, it's not a guarantee. And if Vooch, for some reason, plays 32 minutes tonight with no LaVine and no DeRozan, he is probably going to go absolutely nuts. But it doesn't make any sense. And to me, the most logical thing is that they're getting him the start and he's not playing actual minutes, which then opens the door, which I think is what you were getting to, for a $3,500 Andre Drummond at zero ownership because Vooch is starting.
It's the weirdest spot that I can remember because, again, Vooch is only a 1.1 DraftKings points per minute producer with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine off the floor. But the big thing about that, it's only a 62-minute sample size. I have a feeling he'd be closer to about the 1.25 level that we're projecting. So I think Vooch would be a smash if he plays regular minutes. But I don't think that. I think Andre Drummond is probably the most slept on piece of this entire slate. I would want to get to tons of him today. That is for sure. But then also Alex Caruso being out and then Alex Caruso being questionable. I think it actually matters in the context of Kobe White is 5K. I would have him. We have him for 31 fantasy points as it is right now. I think that goes up in a spot where he should be able to do everything he wants to offensively. Kind of unencumbered minutes. What do you think about Kobe White, Dalen Terry, and the rest of these Bulls?
Yeah, I like Kobe White. 5K is certainly a reasonable price. And the thing to keep in mind with him is that he's not a great point per minute guy overall this year because he just plays a totally different role when at least one of LaVine or DeRozan are on the floor. And, sometimes he's out there with both of them. They don't want him shooting. He doesn't need to shoot. But this, you've seen it in previous years where Chicago would be more shorthanded. When he gets the opportunity and he's not out there with LaVine and DeRozan, he's not efficient, but he will take a lot of shots. And I expect him to play plenty of minutes tonight. So I think he looks good at that price. Dalen Terry, 3K flat, small forward, certainly playable. He's played 107 minutes without LaVine or DeRozan on the floor. Granted, a decent amount of that is garbage time, but he's been a fantasy point per minute guy. 21% assist percentage is nice. I think that he's getting slept on a little bit right now. That ownership probably comes up. And I'm with you on Drummond. Like, it's just the way I view Drummond here is if Vooch plays full minutes, you're screwed because there's just so many good value plays that, 15 minutes of Andre Drummond or whatever isn't going to get it done. But if Vooch just plays a rotation and Drummond plays 22 or 24 minutes or something like that, he ends up being probably the best play on the slate. So at no ownership, I think it's worth the risk. If this were a spot where 10, 15% of the people were expected to play him, I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm going to not try this. But I think it makes a lot of sense in top heavy tournaments.
Yeah, and the other part too is it's like Vooch, if you knew he was going to play regular minutes, I would want to get to more than 8% of him too. So it's such a weird spot. It's such an interesting spot for this slate.
That's kind of my other thing, like why I'm willing to take the risk on Drummond. I think if I'm wrong on Drummond, I'm dead anyway because Vooch is going to be going nuts. So it's kind of, it almost feels like you should, and I don't, it's too big of a slate to like actually set a rule saying like, play one of Drummond or Vooch. One of these guys is going massively under-owned. My guess is that it's Drummond. But if Vooch is playing 30 to 34 minutes, he should be more than 8% owned. If Vooch is playing one rotation, Drummond should be a hell of a lot more than 1% owned.
Totally with you. I think it's the most fascinating spot that we have on this entire slate. So if you're really good at guessing, guess that one right. I think you're going to win a lot of money by being on the right side of it. So keep that in your back pocket. Javon Carter, Andre Drummond, send the money my way. Let's go to the Dallas side. Anything else from Chicago?
I was about to go ahead and register just because we were talking about Drummond, and I was like, yeah, if we're right, that's a pretty big edge. And then I remembered the Sacramento thing, and I don't feel like sitting at my computer all night.
Yep. I was going to say, well, I think I'm going to make one lineup. That's kind of what I've decided. So I'm going to put in like the 20. I'll play in like the single entry showtime or something. I just don't want to, have, so I said, you might want to play more than one lineup. I was kind of making fun of it, but I'm just going to play a Drummond lineup is what I've decided. That's going to be my evening enjoyment for sure. Family time and, double checking on Sacramento. That'll be fun. Dallas, let's go to them too. Luka Doncic seems like he could score a lot of fantasy points without everybody in this lineup.
Yeah, seems pretty good. This is a narrative that is ridiculous and I think actually matters. Do you know what night it is in Dallas?
No.
I don't remember their name for it, but it's basically their like Slovenian heritage night.
No way. Yeah,
I
mean, is this like when we're gonna roster certain pitchers on like Happy Venezuelan Day in Dodger Stadium?
I feel like it's the only reason Luka is playing in this game.
So does he play one rotation and sit with Vooch and just
I think he plays. It makes me.
Yeah, I do too. I think he plays 100%. They need to win this game, and they sat everybody else except for him.
They're trying to. At this point, they're trying to lose basically, but
Lucas score 68 fantasy points today.
Right. I mean, I don't think they're viewing this as they need to win this game. They're resting guys. They're literally resting guys that do not have injuries. But like this is a spot where I would think Luka was a good play anyway. I'd expect him to play a lot of minutes, but not going to lie, the Slovenian thing actually made me feel a little bit more confident in that because you just
Emac saying in the chat, long live Marcin Gortat and the Polish Heritage Night. That absolutely was a thing once upon a time. Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
And to be clear, I'm not saying Luka's going to play better because it's Slovenian Heritage Night. I'm saying I think that there is an actual incentive here for the Mavs to have Luka play real minutes because they have a bunch of people, I assume, coming to this game specifically to see Luka. I think it actually makes sense. So one way or the other, I would like Luka. It doesn't make me like him less that, I feel a little bit better about his minutes, but he's like, early in the year before they got Kyrie, he was pretty much underpriced always at like 12K, being like a 1.7, 1.75 fantasy point per minute guy. Now you're back in that situation. You have no teammates. You're facing Chicago's B squad. Absolutely love Luka.
How about Jaden Hardy pulling over 40% ownership? Do you love him too?
Yes. 5K for Hardy also looks very good.
Yeah, he seems like a phenomenal play. He's nearly a fantasy point per minute guy. No Tim Hardaway Jr., no Kyrie Irving, no Christian Wood, no Josh Green. I just don't see how they don't play him 36, 37 plus minutes tonight. That's all.
Yeah, I think he plays a lot.
Yeah, there we go. That's good stuff. Anything else to talk about here? I think we've kind of covered it, making some pretty strong Chicago stands, making some pretty blatantly obvious Dallas stands. Anything
Somebody
else?
said, is the 50% ownership on Luka worth it? I think so. We have with a 43% chance of being optimal, which is absurdly high. He projects 15 points higher than the next closest guy on the slate. That doesn't mean that, he's going to be the highest scorer, but there's nobody around him in terms of projection. And it's just easy enough to get to him. So like you have this tier of guys that look similar, whether that's Tatum, Anthony Davis, Curry, LeBron, Morant, Ingram, Sabonis, if he plays, all in that 10K range that project very similarly to each other. Those are the guys that I think paying more attention to their ownership makes sense, even though it's going to be a lower raw number than Luka. There's comparable pivots. There's nothing close to Luka on this slate. For Luka to not work out, it probably is either one, he just plays like shit or doesn't play full minutes, or two, a bunch of the value sucks. Like last night, you get all the popular value scoring 17 points like Rubio and Mo Wagner did. Those are kind of the paths to Luka not doing well, but this isn't a slate where like you have Giannis getting 12% ownership and Luka getting 50. And you can say like, oh, well, it's a worse spot, but I'll go to Giannis. Like there's nobody remotely close to Luka in terms of projection. And it's very easy to get to him.
Somebody just said nobody talking campaign. Oh, we'll talk campaign. Trust me, we will definitely get there. We have 2 games to go, but we just got this news. Malcolm Brogdon out, Marcus Smart out, Derek White will play. Pretty interesting stuff there. So you're dropping 2 of those core guards. Any reaction to that? I don't even know how to react to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play some Derek White, I guess that would be fine.
Yeah, it's the only thing that really makes sense to me. It's like everything still stays the same where I don't know what to do with Tatum. Personally.
Yeah. I mean, Tatum still looks fine as well. To try and clear things up for Chuck Deuces, because he seems to have gotten confused. Slovenia night in Dallas has nothing to do with Poland. Marcin Gortat is Polish, though. And so Emac's point about Polish Heritage Night and Marcin Gortat was analogous to this, where Luka is Slovenian and it's Slovenian night.
Good job. I'm proud of you. Taking matters into your own hands. You're a big, strong man, ready to take on the world. It's from Rounders. It's Teddy KGP.
Yeah, I caught it.
Great stuff. I splash the pot whenever the fuck I please. 2 games to go. Let's get to it. Hit the like button. We move to Golden State facing Sacramento. Golden State 9-point favorites. They need to win a basketball game on their side of the floor. Yay. Sounds like Andrew Wiggins closer to being able to join this team. That's pretty cool. We are looking at a perfectly healthy Golden State side, and that's where the conversation is really kind of revolved around Steph Curry, or if you want to take shots on a Klay Thompson eruption spot, I suppose you could do that too. But how do you feel about Steph Curry in comparison to other spend-ups on this slate?
I think he's comparable to everybody else priced around them pretty much. This game does matter for Golden State in terms of seeding, so I expect full minutes for Curry. 7% ownership, no issues with that. Klay at 7K, I think is a decent contrarian play as well. Like these guys are going to get their minutes, and we know what they're capable of doing if they get hot. But the reason you're just getting lower ownership on Curry and a relatively low optimal percentage is what I was saying before. You have, if we include the Domantas Sabonis and assume he plays for the sake of what I'm about to say, you have 7 guys on DraftKings priced between $10,000 and $10,700, and they are separated by less than 5 points total.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a bunch of guys that look about the same. And in theory, they should just kind of be getting spread out ownership wise.
Well, in theory, anything else from Golden State? Because I feel like, again, Steph Curry, and then if you think Klay Thompson's, this is the night he's going to make 12 threes, go ahead and click on that name. But I can't really come up with a reason I would prioritize them otherwise.
I didn't hear what you said. I was trying to
Klay Thompson, yes or no?
Klay, like if you land on him here and there, that's fine. But somebody just said, somebody in chat said Vooch expected out Friday. I don't see that though.
I didn't see that come through.
That would completely change the logic that we just laid out though.
Yes, it would. Then it would just be,
play Vooch.
Drummond. Yeah. Well, if he were to play, you would play Vooch, yes.
Oh wait,
Vooch
today
sits. What?
today is Friday.
Today is Friday. I was going to say, what are you saying?
I was thinking, so, I mean, most people would say Vooch expected out today.
Blink twice if you're okay.
So I was just thinking like Vooch expected out next game had been reported. So I was saying like if they're going to sit him in game 82, then they're probably not doing the 6-minute thing in game 81. Why do people?
Jordan Klein, you didn't like that joke? You didn't think that was funny? You're like, oh, okay, thank you. Kind of gave me a look where it was like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with Sacramento. Look at this madness. De'Aaron Fox, questionable. Domantas Sabonis, questionable. Kevin Huerter, questionable. Keegan Murray, questionable. Malik Monk, questionable. Davion Mitchell, questionable. And Trey Lyles, questionable. We could be looking at the best plays on this slate being some combination of Terrence Davis, Kessler Edwards, Chimezie Metu, Alex Len. What are we doing here? And why is Harrison Barnes not one of the people listed?
Yeah, I don't know why Barnes has he played. He hasn't played every game this year, has he?
Oh, see, now we got to go down narrative street again. Is there something where they like unlock an achievement by playing 82 games? Is that what we're getting at?
Let me find Roto Grinders
for you.
Has said Vooch expected out. I have no idea where that's coming from though.
Wild. I mean, it would make logical sense that they wouldn't play him with everybody else out. Harrison Barnes has played 80 games. You are correct.
Yeah, so I would recommend waiting to see an actual Bulls beat writer say that as opposed to sites that aggregate just repeating each other.
Yeah. News God's having fun with that one. Enjoy. Sorry. Again, we're just trying to find information here as we're going. Vooch not going to be playing. Yeah, I doubt that he's going to play basketball. We will find out, but let's get to Sacramento here because assuming everybody's out, which is what I'm doing here at the moment, there have to be plays that we mine out of this situation, right?
Yeah. So I think they're probably waiting to see what's going on in the Memphis game is
yes,
likely. There is a chance they also just don't care about the Memphis game and they're just going to rest everybody anyway. But they're probably waiting to see what happens in the Memphis game. If everybody is in here, I don't really like anything from the Kings. You know, Sabonis is okay. Fox is okay, but nothing would stand out. If guys sit, and I assume if some of them sit, all of them are sitting, Terrence Davis would be the first guy that I start looking to. Just somebody that is a very good point per minute guy. And if everybody's out, is just going to go play a ton of minutes. You would get value at center. I don't know who would start, whether it be Metu, Holmes, Len, but whoever it is would be cheap and a good point per minute guy. Kessler Edwards would likely play a lot. Keon Ellis probably plays a good amount. But Terrence Davis would be the guy that first I'm looking to get in my lineup if they end up ruling guys out.
Click. I'm totally with you. Got to pay attention to it. And there's only the one spot to be swapping into if none of that comes to fruition. It is Phoenix and Los Angeles coming up next. Anything else from Golden State, Sacramento?
Nope.
Cool. One game. Hit that like button. We did get news that Tobias Harris going to be out, D'Anthony Melton out. So Philadelphia, I'll let the Live Before Lock crew handle that one here because we have one game and one massive play. Well, actually, there's a lot of plays from this game that are pretty intriguing at different price points, but we'll start Phoenix, Los Angeles. Phoenix playing on a back-to-back here, but probably playing nobody here that is on the back-to-back other than maybe the Josh Okogie of the world. But campaign, 4,200, highest owned player of the slate. I agree. Do you agree?
Yeah, he looks fantastic, assuming he starts. Yeah, just a really good point per minute guy. He's cheap. There's a ton of minutes for him to play. Phoenix isn't playing any of their starters. It's just so difficult to get away from campaign.
It's like impossible. But is there anything else from Phoenix, considering you said backups, no other pieces there? I think there's a reason to maybe take a shot on a Jock Landale in case he just plays way more minutes and Bismack Biyombo doesn't.
Right.
I think
you
it's
could
more
take
of
a
a
shot
price
on
point
Landale.
that
He's a good point per minute guy. He's cheap. Another nice thing about Landale is, and I mean, he is $300 less expensive, but he'd probably be ending up in your flex spot, your utility spot. And, you know, it's just a piece that you can end up swapping to Terrence Davis when you get Sacramento news, at least in some lineups. But yeah, I mean, Payne's the clear priority. Josh Okogie, Jock Landale, Terrence Ross, Saban Lee at minimum salary, all viable, you know, sort of hope to get lucky plays. Campaign is the clear guy that is a very, very high percentage play.
I'm with you. When we go to the Lakers side here, You got spend ups. You got 2 of them. And I think everything else falls by the wayside on a slate like this, where none of them are under 4K out of their main rotation. It's LeBron, it's AD. Talk to me about the context of them on today's slate.
Yeah, Davis and LeBron, if you're going to the Lakers, that's where you go. Lakers would certainly like to win this game. You've been getting big minutes from LeBron and Davis. They played both ends of the back-to-back the other day, despite playing overtime in the first game. So yeah, you should just be expecting 35, 36 minutes from these guys. It makes them look good. LeBron looks a little bit better because of small forward eligibility instead of center, less opportunity cost at the position. But those guys both look good. And then there's pretty much nothing else.
Yep, we got Greg and Neil coming up here next. The flannel god himself, Greg Ehrenberg, my captor, that is for sure. My captor. Adam, wild slate before us. You did a great job of breaking everything down. Thank you. Any final words for the people as you and I get ourselves out of here?
The only thing I would say is keep an eye out for actual Vucevic news, because I haven't seen it from anybody I trust.
You just kind of had like a full-on meltdown looking for it, didn't you?
You
were trying to find it so badly.
There's nothing on Twitter that I can find about him not playing other than sites that are not sources saying that he's not playing.
Or just doing what we're doing, speculating. Like it's true, like flat out speculation right now. Yeah, that's what it is. Trying to figure out what to do here.
I don't think it's speculation. There's probably somebody that tweeted it that is not a good source. I think somebody in chat said it was a Boston guy. I didn't catch the name. That a couple of aggregate sites are running with, but my point is just until it comes from a Chicago beat writer, I wouldn't believe it.
All right. Well, we will find it, and we'll have the guys on Live Before Lock find it for you, because that's a massive piece of news. We're looking for Drummond. Thank you so much to everybody. Great to be back here on the Deeper Dive, hanging out with Adam. Even, it's because it's his favorite thing to do. I'm glad I could make his day. That's for sure. Jordan Klein, thank you so much for producing, doing a fantastic job. Thank you to our sponsor, NHA. We're going to get out of here. Live Before Lock crew coming up next.
Yo, it's that time of week again, and we have a lot of people entering or re-entering the Hall of Fame right here on the Stochastic YouTube channel. If you guys are trying to get involved, you want to get a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum, $120 value. You want to get inducted into the Hall of Fame right here. All you got to do is download the Stochastic profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar and tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF like everybody did today and for this week. Get yourself a free month. Get yourself inducted into the Hall of Fame. We got a lot of good ones today. Let's get straight into it. Starting off with our boy, Peter Hanley. It's been a while, but I can still win. Yeah, dude, Peter went on a mega heater a little while back, but it looks like he's back on top. $100,000 win there, rocking the Stochastic avatar. Glad to see you back up here, man. Absolutely huge win. And how about Jackson Blake? Not sure if this counts, but I just punched the ticket to the FBWC. Thank you to the Stochastic team and all the tools they provide. Best tools in the business. $60,000 right there to the Fantasy Baseball World Championship. Dude wasted no time getting in on that. Congrats, Jackson. And Jacob. Took down my first 5-digit win. Listen to you guys every day and love the content. Boom, $10,000 in the NBA layup. Everything looks beautiful there. Just got to get that Stochastic avatar, man. But this counts. No problem at all. Nice work, Jacob. Kevin Driscoll finally getting around the posting. Didn't feel like playing. Came in late from work, but glad I did. Live Before Lock plus the lineup generator plus late swap equals the win. 2K. First place in the pick and roll. What do we get? Second out of 53,000 in the fadeaway. Huge stuff, man. I love seeing that. And then Jorge, our boy Jorge, getting a little sneaky here with the Stochastic edit, but that's okay because Jorge has been one of the most supportive people on the channel and in the community for a long time. Turned 75 into 800, getting third place on the Golf DK Mini Max without knowing anything about golf, but knowing how to read the amazing tools by the Stochastic team. I tell you guys all the time, sometimes you don't need to know these sports, just know how to use the tools. Special shout out to Jazz Raz and Eric Lindquist for amazing tips and information provided. Keep this one rolling. We got a lot today. D-Fick, what's better than an end of season Bink? Thanks, Ship My Money, Player Q DFS for the great content yesterday. How about that? $1,000, 10K mini max. Love it. Whew. All right, I got to catch my breath here. Schwab's dad, 23 seconds away from chopping first place for 7K. Garbage time Kawhi layup, and then 2 Trey Murphy free throws. Force me in the fourth. ROI still crazy, though. Thanks for the tools. I hope this secures a free month. 50K Saturday NBA shot, $750. $4 in the 750. Massive ROI. And Alamar, second appearance in the Hall of Fame this calendar year. Thanks to the fellas and all the Live Before Lock crew helping us create winning lineups. Forgot my free month last time, but baseball's here. I'll need that Stochastic Hall of Fame. Let's get it. You got it, man. You got it. Free month coming your way. Paul, thanks to the guys at Stochastic. From this past Friday slate, I was able to take second in the quarter, ninth in the $4. Although I wish I had these entries switched over. Regardless, profit's a profit. Thank you, guys. Yeah, dude, $200 in the jukebox is a very nice profit. Michael Diaz, Stochastic, a win is a win. Yeah, it is. Second place in the mini max. Again, you guys crushing with the tools and the shows in the mini max. You love to see that. And Luba, thanks, Stochastic, for the assist on that one and another few good scores. Yesterday's NHL slate. Keep up the great content. Another quarter jukebox bink. How about we've got Michael Thomas. Was running late to film my 20 max NBA fadeaway in the FanDuel. Hit up the lineup generator. I tell you guys all the time, half off, less than $4.50 for the first week. Finished third out of 19,000. I'll take that 50, and I wish another free month, but it may be too soon. Well, you could have worse problems. Yes, Laffy, I'm rocking the new logo. Don't want to get in trouble. My man. Shout out to Michael Thomas. And that's the Stochastic Hall of Fame from Patty Boy. $100 in the fadeaway. Got a few more here before we close it out. Bill, the good news hit for 5,000x my buy-in. Unfortunately, it was in the 5-cent buy-in. Wish I had built more of a bankroll, but have to start somewhere. Yeah, man. And that is one way to do it. Thanks for all the info and video, guys. I'll take my free month now. First place in the wiffle ball, $250. It's as big a win as any. And then I am King Sosa, $100. Man, a few words. That's the Stochastic Hall of Fame. Third place in the wiffle ball. We close it out with the game. Picked up top 3 showing and some decent change in late night jukebox to push a little in the NBA these last few weeks after retooling the approach and getting some mojo before getting Greg and Neil late night games review in the lock vid. Congrats to everybody. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. You've now been inducted. Download the avatar. Rock it wherever it is you play. Tweet your wins as Stochastic HOF and pick up your free month, the Stochastic Plus Platinum.
What is going on, everybody? It is time for another NBA Live Before Lock. So as you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and shout out to No House Advantage, who is sponsoring our show today. And this is going to be an interesting one. This is actually the last show that I'm doing a full slate for. I don't know what your schedule is the next couple of days, but tomorrow it's a very small NBA slate. Sunday, I cannot be happier than I'm on the Sunday schedule. Like, if there's any day that I got to take, I'm very happy that it's Sunday, where it's going to be so difficult to parse that slate. And today's going to also be a tricky one, but I do think there's some angles we have. There are teams we know that do have stuff to play for, which is going to be interesting. And yeah, it's just kind of like we talked about last night. There's different ways to talk about this slate, I think, than we normally talk about NBA DFS slates, because how much players play, motivation, it comes into play more than our normal stuff. We're just talking about, like, hey, here are the projections. These are the guys who look better or worse with players on or off the court. Like, how do you even wrap your head around this? Like, what's your mindset right now?
It's so difficult to plan for this kind of slate. You just got to take it minute by minute, pay attention to news all night. I don't really know that there is a great way to approach this. It's chaos. There's going to be chaos throughout the night. We do have a lot of the news already, which helps. But I think you lock in the players that can put up big fantasy scores in the earlier games. You don't play anybody who's bad value.
Yeah. And I mean, even some of the players too, that could potentially be good plays right now are projecting really well. There's a bunch of guys I'm really, really dubious about what their roles are going to be. So, right now, the preeminent pay up option on this slate is Luka, right? Luka is somebody who, if you just run lineups with projections as you get to a lot of them, and then I just kind of start to think through the slate. And by the way, Luka projected for 50% ownership on DraftKings. FanDuel, Luka projected for 39% ownership. So he's the most popular player on FanDuel. DraftKings, he is the third most popular. And I honestly don't know that he's going to play past the first quarter today. So it's a very, very weird slate with a lot of different angles to it. And we'll be talking through it as we go, because there are going to be guys that are not listed as out, but it doesn't really seem there's any reason for them to be playing. And that to me is going to be stuff that kind of makes me think really hard about some of these guys as we go through it. If you have any questions for us, leave them in via super chats, leave them into Discord. And then also, I think that we're going to have some weird news that breaks, and we'll be covering all of that as we go. Let's start to, and of course, tiers. If you guys have your tiers questions, we'll be hitting on that as well. But I want to start by asking about Luka, because we have all of this value. It's not hard to pay up for him relative to what it normally is to pay up for Luka. But with that said, here's the scenario for the Dallas Mavericks. They are resting everybody who is a core player for them other than Luka, which is really mixed signals to me. Why would they be doing that? And it's also Slovenia night at the for the Mavericks day, whatever that is supposed to mean. I do wonder if there's a part of them that are only starting Luka because it's Slovenia night and he's just going to play the first quarter and then be done for the night. So I think that at least in large field tournaments, I want to be undercutting his exposure, not fade him outright, but I do think that it's worth being underweight to the field on him. And here's an angle I really like, Neil, because I think this is a possibility. I parlayed all of the props for Luka in a same game parlay on DraftKings, got 12-1 odds on it. So it's a chance here that you get Luka to play limited minutes, or just potentially maybe even not even play that well. But I do think at least it happens more than 12-1 that Luka plays somewhat limited minutes here. But how do you view Luka in large field tournaments with everything going on with Dallas?
So I've been planning on playing Luka in a good number of my lineups, not like all of them. What do we have as projected ownership at? Because it kind of, it is going to depend a bit on the ownership.
Very, very high.
Him at 49%. Okay. Yeah, at that point, I probably want to be a little bit underweight to the field. I also think, in your non-Luka lineups, that's going to make Jaden Hardy look so much better. He already looks good with Luka in the lineup, but in your non-Luka lineups, it just makes those lineups even stronger. So I think I'll probably be a little bit underweight to the field on Luka just because of that concern that he might not play full minutes. I still think, like, if they're wanting to show out for the crowd, he's probably going to play. If I had a lean, my lean would be that Luka plays, over 30 minutes, if I had to guess. But I'm not that confident in it. And when the field is playing 49%, yeah, I'm going to undercut the field, but I will have some Luka lineups. They also, if I'm correct, they still have a chance at the playoffs, right? The Mavericks, they're like a 4% chance of the playoffs.
They are not eliminated from the playoffs yet, but they are resting every other core player for them. So it's like these mixed signals. They're like, are they trying to compete for the playoff spot or not? Right. So why is it if their goal right now, and I came into today earlier thinking this is one of the teams that this game matters. They have a chance to make the playoffs. There's also incentive for them to lose as well, because they need their draft pick to be at a certain spot to be able to keep it this year, or else it converts to the Knicks. So they are weighing different things here where it's like, okay, slight chance to make it into the playoffs, but do we want to miss out on the playoffs by just enough that they miss the playoffs and also don't get to keep their first round pick? So there's different things going on. And I do think there's a realistic chance that the only reason Luka is even active today is because it's Slovenia night, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean to the team. It's just weird to me that Hardaway, Maxi Kleber, Josh Green, Kyrie Irving, Christian Wood would all be out, and they just be like, hey, Luka, you go play 40 minutes. It's mixed signals to me.
Yeah, no, it definitely is mixed signals. It's tough. Like, if the field was not there, I would just jam in Luka. The fact that the field's at 49% makes me want to go a little bit underweight to the field. But it's such a hard. This is late season NBA. Nobody really knows. We know that if Luka plays, he's going to be an absolute slam dunk. So it's like, if the field is going to assume that he's playing full minutes, I think it makes sense, as you say, to undercut the field. But he just projects so well to do. I would be hesitant to fully fade him if you're playing 20 plus lineups.
Yeah, and that's the way I approached it too, where I said that, like, and by the way, if you're really confident Luka is going to play full minutes, go ahead and play him in tournaments. I'm not. And when he's 50% owned on DraftKings, to me, there's just too many different variables to think he should be that popular. That's really how I look at him in
Yeah,
tournaments.
and I agree with you. That makes sense. Yeah.
So that's how I'm looking at this from. We've got a super chat here from Michael McKinney, and oh my, top 5 favorite FanDuel plays. Oh, good, he wasn't asking for cash plays. I was gonna say if you're playing cash today, what a sick-minded individual you are. If you're going out there and going, here's the safest lineups playing cash games. No.
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck with that.
Good luck. So running FanDuel lineups, these are the players I got the most exposure to. So Michael, Victor Oladipo, Isaiah Jackson, Caleb Martin. Love Jaden Hardy today. For a lot of the reasons I just mentioned before, I already think Hardy projects well as is. There is a chance that Luka plays, 10-ish minutes today or something like that. It's within the range of outcomes, and they'll make Hardy look even better. So love Jaden Hardy, and then Cameron Payne as well. So just to read those names off, Oladipo, Jackson, Martin, Hardy, Payne. Those are the players I got the most exposure to over on FanDuel. And by the way, because I know people are saying, well, look at what the betting line is. They don't know shit. So people just assume that sportsbooks have some kind of inside information. They don't. And they are especially terrible at pricing lines at this point of the season.
I mean, how do you do it unless you have inside info? Yeah, it's impossible.
There's a lot of times you just make a leap of faith with some of these scenarios, like I'm doing with Luke, and say, hey, it makes sense to me he might not play full minutes. Doesn't mean I'm saying that's 100%. It's just within the range of outcomes. I think it's a possibility. I don't think the spread of the game is any kind of indication of how many minutes Luka is going to play, though. They are guessing just as much as we are. Nobody from Dallas, Mark Cuban, hasn't texted DraftKings Sportsbook and said, hey, heads up, Luka's playing X amount of minutes. They're making an educated guess. Same as I'm making an educated guess. So I don't really put a lot of stock into what the spread is for that game. In fact, I bet the Bulls at something else that I'll throw out there. They're big underdogs.
Yeah,
all right.
I think it's a good bet.
Let's look at some. So, and also, Chuck Deuce is saying, Greg, at the beginning of the year, you say trust the books. I have never said trust the books once in my entire life. I make money betting on sports. If I thought the sports books were accurate, I wouldn't be betting on sports, right? Because I would just assume all the lines are fair.
Oh my God, we're getting questions like Xavier Cooks or Jared Roden.
It's going to be a fun slate. The Thunder wants to know tiers plays. Tiers lineups. All right, let's see what we've got for the tiers lineups I ran. So this is also really hard because tier 1, the options are Joel Embiid, who is out, Giannis, who is out, Luka Doncic, and Jason Tatum. And I don't think there's a lot of reason for Luka or Tatum to play full minutes. So I guess for that purpose, I'll say Luka. But also, like I said, a little bit of a tricky one. Tier 2, LeBron James. It's either between LeBron James or Anthony Davis. We've got the Lakers with something to play for going up against the Suns team and their skeleton crew. I like LeBron in tier 2. Tier 3 for me is Ja Morant. Still a little bit left for the Grizzlies to play for. There's an outside chance that the Kings could pass the Grizzlies as the 2 seed. If the Grizzlies lose their final 2 games and the Kings win their final 2, the Kings would be the 2nd seed in the West. Now, something else that adds an interesting wrinkle to today's slate, we currently have all of the Kings guys listed as questionable. Here's what I think they're going to do. If the Grizzlies are losing, I think the Kings are going to go out and play their guys because they're still live for the 2 seed. If the Grizzlies are winning by a lot, I think the Kings pull all their guys and say, hey, this game isn't for anything. We're not going to play them. So their current list is questionable. That's what I think happens with that scenario. Tier 4, Pascal Siakam, because who else are you going to play? Here are the options in tier 4. This is what's funny about this time of year, Neil. Tier 4 is Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Halliburton, James Harden, Jalen Brunson, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. You have one choice. Pascal Siakam is the only guy playing in tier 4. So you're playing Siakam. Tier 5, I have Trae Young. And then tier 6 is Fred VanVleet, but De'Aaron Fox if the Kings end up playing all their guys. Because like I said, still a chance that game ends up mattering.
Cole Anthony starting.
What do we
After
have?
he did not play yesterday. Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Goga. Ooh, Goga starting.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a weird Magic lineup, and another team that has incentive to. You brought this up yesterday, where you said, "What do teams have to play for?" And then you made the joke, which was very funny and very, very poignant. That these teams have to lose. They've games to lose to play for, and that's kind of where the Magic are at. The Magic are incentivized to lose this game, but they're still playing some of their young guys. Markelle Fultz is out there, Franz Wagner. But yeah, Cole Anthony starting, Goga Bitadze. What is your initial reaction to this being the starting five that I'm positive there's a good chance this five-man unit is not even played together once this season?
There is certainly a chance. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, some solid. I love Goga as a fantasy producer. If he's starting, makes you feel a lot better about his minutes. So makes Goga pretty interesting to me. Goga averaging over a fantasy point per minute this season. Bol, of course, takes a hit there. We had him projected for over 20% ownership. My guess is that takes a hit, and we see more ownership go to Goga. But it's he's worth the play. Jalen Suggs still 4,100 after the massive game he had yesterday. At 4,000 is going to look like a decent play once again. Still in the starting lineup, not still better players around him, so maybe doesn't take as much of a not as much of a priority as he was. Fultz, I don't know, he's 6,300. Don't really know that I'm expecting that much from Fultz. Yeah, so I think Goga looks great. Jalen Suggs, very solid play. I don't really know that I'm going to be playing the expensive guys for the Magic.
Yeah, and expensive is relative.
It is relative.
Who are the players Orlando even has available? And I see we have a super chat here from James Magruder. Underneath it, Brad Clayton says, Greg, the Kings announced they're sitting players if Memphis wins. Yeah, that's what I said. If Memphis loses, though, I still think the Kings guys play. So the Orlando Magic have available. So I assume this probably means Banchero isn't playing, right? Because he was not in that starting lineup. He's listed as questionable. Gary Harris also listed as questionable. Reasonable to think either of them play now?
Probably. I would.
Right? Why would Banchero play?
Did they just forget to tell us? That they probably just forgot to say it. But like, yeah,
I'm sure. I'm sure they won't tell us until the second quarter.
Maybe he's in there like as an emergency option. Yeah, I don't know, but I would guess he's not playing.
Yeah, that's where I'm standing on this as well. I don't think we see Paulo, Banchero, or Gary Harris play.
Yeah.
Just looking to see if there's any more info on that. No, I feel fairly good about putting that out as a prediction here, though. James Magruder, best plays at each position on DK. All right, let's get into it. Do you have any lineups built in front of you, Neil?
I'm gonna run some right now. Okay,
right.
I've run some lineups. We did, of course, this is before we got the Magic news, but whatever. We can go with what we have.
Yeah, and when we have our projections updated for the Magic starting lineup, I thought Bobo was going to start today too. That's not the case. That's going to be some shuffling we have to do on stuff. But when we get the projection update, Jordan, we'll look at it. We'll put it up on screen. We'll show people where we're projecting the Orlando Magic players with the new starting lineup. But at point guard for me, the point guards I got the most exposure to on DK are Victor Oladipo and Cameron Payne. How about yourself, Neil?
Yes, at point guard, I got so I have a ton of Luka, and I think that I will have probably not that far under 50%. I still think that it's most likely he plays. Maybe I'm taking a contrarian stance there, but I'm still going to play a good amount. And then I've got Victor Oladipo, number 2, Cam Payne, number 3.
Shooting guard, also Victor Oladipo, shooting guard eligibility there. And then Jaden Hardy, yourself?
Currently, it's Oladipo and Jaden Springer. Jaden Hardy, maybe in some of those, maybe I'll give him a boost in some of those non-Luka lineups.
Small forward for me is Caleb Martin, Brandon Ingram, and LeBron James.
Caleb Martin, Jason Tatum, and LeBron.
Power forward, Caleb Martin, and then just really spread out beyond that. Some Bobby Portis in there. I had Bol. That's going to be something that's going to have to change. Pascal Siakam. Who do you have at power forward?
Caleb Martin, Jason Tatum, Bobby Portis.
And then center for me, Isaiah Jackson and Omer Yurtseven, who was a fantasy stud down the stretch of last season. Looked good at one point this year, and then I think it was this year where he was, or was it last year towards it? Whatever. He hasn't played in a really long time, but Bam Adebayo out. Do you know what the big event is today at the Miami Heat game?
Big event at the Miami Heat game. I don't.
Udonis Haslem is retiring. This is
he is. Wow.
This is the final farewell. Udonis Haslem, who has been in the NBA. How many years has he been in the league?
So 14.
I feel like double that. Udonis Haslem has been in the NBA since 2002. He got drafted in 2001.
Wow. Okay.
20-year professional career. He's 42 years old. Do you think they give him a rotation for his final game?
Oh,
They
for
have
sure.
to, right?
They have to. Absolutely.
The game doesn't mean anything. I mean, the game could potentially mean something for them, but they've decided to punt it anyway. The other thing I find kind of interesting, I talked about with Dallas before, there are these teams, and we've never seen this in the past. There are teams like a 3-4% chance to make the playoffs or to improve their seating, and they've just punted on it. They're like, I don't give a shit. We're not going for it. That's what the Heat are doing here. Tail end of a back-to-back. They are currently the 7 seed in the East. They had a chance to be the 6 seed and pass the Nets, and they're not going for it. They're just seeding. They're just conceding to the Nets and letting them take it. So chance we could see some Udonis Haslam. Not that it's going to really be pertinent here. Did I ask you who your centers were you got the most of?
Yeah, so it's Drummond, Bobby Portis, Yurtseven.
Drummond's a really interesting one. So we have, I assume Vooch plays, but I don't think he plays very much. And I know there's been some really faulty reporting about Vooch being in, Vooch being out. Vooch has played in every single game this year. And this is another one of those weird spots where I think it's important to the team to keep that streak alive for him to play every game. So I don't think we see Vooch play full minutes. I think he plays a couple minutes, maybe a rotation, comes out of the game. So with that in mind, I do think that Drummond is somebody who maybe I should be projecting for a little bit more minutes than I currently am, because I don't think Vooch plays very much, and Drummond's obviously a great fantasy producer. I'm actually going to change that right now.
I'm very happy, or very unhappy, with the false reporting of Vooch, because now it's going to drive up Drummond's ownership. Maybe some of it will come down after, if they announce that Vooch is starting, but I don't love this faulty reporting, because I think we were going to get Drummond at like no ownership, and now with the faulty reporting, more people are going to go to Drummond, and I kind of hate that.
Yeah. Let me go, and I'm giving Drummond more minutes. He's going to be one of my most rostered centers. There's still a bunch of other centers that I think are worth getting to. Like I talked about Isaiah Jackson, still think he looks really good. I think Yurtseven is good, but Drummond should be in my list of most rostered centers as well. So giving him that boost right there. We've got
somebody asked me about Jay Huff, and I'm just going to say, if he's starting, I think that I would play Jay Huff. If not, probably not.
Yeah. By the way, we're running lineups right now, getting to a ton of Drummond on the rerun now.
Nice.
Super chat from my Phil arc. Someone like Andrew Nembhard breaking the slate. I don't know about Nembhard specifically, but how about if we look at some really low owned plays and try to find out who we would look at for really low ownership that we think has that we think is like a good amount of upside. I wouldn't say Nembhard specifically, though.
Yeah, low ownership. I mean, right now it's Drummond, I would say, is low ownership, big upside.
Yeah, let's see if we have an updated ownership projection. Yeah, that's true. Drummond, I'd probably say he's the right answer now, actually. What do we have him for ownership?
1.5%. I mean, it'll be higher than that.
By the way, we just got an ownership update from a minute ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 1% on FanDuel, 3% on DraftKings. I'm good with saying Drummond is that guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me see. Anybody else? Really?
Projections
are updated,
updated,
Jordan?
Okay.
All right. Yeah, so let's look at the Orlando Magic. So, guys, we just had a projection update. So let's look at the and by the way, just to reiterate, our answer for low-owned player that we think will break the slate, going to go with Andre Drummond right now. But let's look at the Orlando Magic, because we've got an ownership update as of about 30 seconds ago. And we can look at what we're projecting these Orlando Magic players for now that we have the starting lineup. And by the way, we ended up projecting Boncaro here for 14 minutes. So, not really all that significant, but we left him in for now. I think that's a reasonable way to project him. We just put him in for 14. So let's see. Who do we have projecting pretty well for us on a points per dollar basis now? Goga Bitadze is now projected for 26.6 fantasy points at a $3,300 price tag on DraftKings. So Goga, I think another center we want to add into that mix with Andre Drummond and some of the other centers that look good. Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, both project okay, but there's going to be a lot of guys that are like $2,000-$3,000 cheaper that are projecting similarly. So, and same, Franz Wagner, I don't really have interest in him. The guys that I want to be getting to now that we have that starting lineup, and once again, I'm going to read off the Magic starting lineup for anybody who forgot that's in the Magic starting lineup. By the way, this goes for me as well, because these are weird lineups that we don't see very frequently. Is Fultz, Anthony, Suggs, Wagner, Bitadze. Of those players, the ones that I think are the highest priorities are Batadze and Jalen Suggs. What do you make of the Orlando Magic starting lineup? And now that we have projections, Neil, who do you like the most from Orlando?
Yeah, that's the order. It's Batadze, Jalen Suggs, probably nobody else for me.
Yeah. Totally makes sense. Another super chat here. Riley Cooper 14. Shake Milton or Cam last man in? Assuming you mean Cameron Payne, I like Cam Payne a good amount.
I do too. What is Shake Milton's ownership looking at though?
It's very high.
Okay.
Very high.
Yep. So I would prefer Cam Payne there as well.
Yeah. Ownership, most recent run. What do we got here? We've got Cam Payne is projected to be the most popular player on DraftKings, 60%, but Shake Milton's still the third most popular player at 47% ownership. So a lot going there as well. For FanDuel purposes, Cam Payne is 30% and Milton is 26%. So let's talk about Cam Payne because I like him a lot, but relative to ownership, do you think you should be over or underweight or even with the field on a 60% projected ownership?
On Cam Payne?
Yes.
I'm probably going to be underweight to the field on Cam Payne, but I mean, I think that it's like if it's fine to be there with the field. They're resting all of their starters. He looks like he's probably going to be the alpha. It's a fast-paced Lakers team. I have actually well under the field, so I think that's what I would default to say. I'm going to be underweight to the field on Cam Payne, but I think that he's clearly got huge upside. So I do like the play, but currently I'm underweight to the field. I don't imagine I'm going to be getting over it at any time before lock.
Yeah. So let me see, where did I come in on Payne?
Surprised. I actually only have 16%, which really kind of surprises me.
So in the lineups I built, I have 47% of Cam Payne. The biggest thing that drove down the amount of Cam Payne, and by the way, that still makes him my second most rostered point guard behind Victor Oladipo. The thing that drove down, by the way, Boncaro is now officially out. So there we've got that. The Boncaro's out. Gary Harris available to play. I still think he plays 0 minutes, even though he's available. Gary Harris, though. Boncaro, though, out. He's going to be taken out of those projections in a second. That's going to make some of those Orlando Magic guys look even better. So what I was going to say about Cam Payne is me giving a thumbs down to Luka and Fantasy Cruncher also lowered my exposure to Cam Payne because there's less of a need to get as much of some of those value plays when I'm not getting to as much of Luka because I think there's some risk with his minutes. But either way, Cam Payne, he's in about half of the lineups I've built. So still one of my most roster players, just not quite 60%.
Yeah. Somebody in chat was questioning if I said that I had a lot of Tatum. So just to be clear, that was a preliminary run. So I just ran some lineups without changing. The only thing that I adjusted before running those lineups was Andre Drummond, giving him a big boost. So the kind of meaningless. I was just kind of giving you an idea of who, projects really well for us. And those are the players who get in, but it will be changing prior to lock.
And we got a super chat here from Corey Shea. He wants us to rank Hardy, Oladipo, Milton, and Kobe White 1 through 4. Hardy, Oladipo, Milton, and Kobe White. So for me right now, it is Oladipo 1. Of those 4, Oladipo, Milton, Kobe White, Hardy, who would you have number 1, Neil?
Yeah, it would also be Oladipo for me. Sorry, who are the others?
Oladipo, Milton, Kobe White, and Hardy.
It would be Oladipo, maybe Hardy, just because we think Luka might end up sitting, and then Kobe White.
Bam.
Then...
We just got the news. Luka is only going to play the first quarter.
Okay. Well.
All right. So that same game parlay I had that I was talking about before, this is really annoying to me now, though. This is super annoying because I was going to be on the right side of this, and now everybody else gets this information. That is not fair.
Great for me. This is great for me. I was going to play some Luka. Now I don't have to.
This is not.
Got to get him on my so rare.
Absolutely not fair.
Yeah.
Not because everybody, he was going to be 50% owned. He was going to play one. He was going to play the first quarter, and now everybody's going to know it. Now I'm going to get trolled for other stupid takes I have. This was one of the stupid takes that was going to work out.
You got one right, and then they screwed you.
Well, here's the good thing though. I've got that bet I placed before. Also, I posted in our chalkboard before. So if you guys aren't in our chalkboard, it is totally free to join. There's a link below for chalkboard. And Jordan, would you mind throwing the chalkboard link into YouTube chat if we have it there? You're not going to do it? I'll do it. It's okay. I have it handy here. I'll pull up the chalkboard link. So yeah, if you guys want to hang out with Lofty and I after hours, post some bets, we sweat them, join our chalkboard. It is totally free to get into it. And it's totally free to join our channel. What's that? I thought you were saying you weren't going to. It's hard because you're muted. Yeah, there he goes. Either way, appreciate you, Jordan. So yeah, no more leverage fading Luka. But now that we officially have this Luka news, Neil, how do we react to it? How does this impact the Mavericks?
I mean, it obviously makes Jaden Hardy better. I'd say that the biggest impact is just going to be Jaden Hardy immediately. I'll have to look at who is playing for the Mavericks today. So it's Jaden Hardy, the clear one. Frankie Smoke's going to play some more. Ntilikina.
I think it's going to just be big time Hardy night.
Yeah.
Big time Hardy night. Let me look through this depth chart and see what else we could potentially be getting out of Dallas. So by the way, Hardy to me, just play all of the Hardy, right? Like Hardy now becomes such a difficult guy to get away from. Beyond that, I think it's hard. I think they're going to give Ntilikina minutes, Justin Holiday, Theo Pinson.
We've got a lot of Tatum questions now. Everybody wants to pivot to Tatum. And also in tiers, is Tatum the last man standing in tiers?
Tatum is so here's where things are tricky. So tier 1, the only two options that are still available are Luka and Tatum.
I'd go Tatum there until we get news.
It has to be Tatum, right? Yeah. Like what else? Maybe Tatum only plays the first quarter as well. The other thing also is that tiers is not really the sharpest field always. It's not like, playing the $20, 150 match of 15, whatever the main contest buy-in is for the day. I think a lot of people still just ride with Luka. So yeah, Tatum in tier 1 for tiers.
Greg, we've got several starting lineups. Oladipo is not starting. Is that what you were anticipating?
It was not. I was anticipating Oladipo was going to start. So
how much
the last time we saw
the
Heat start shorthanded, they played Oladipo. Oladipo got a good amount of playing time. He didn't do anything with it. Yeah, I'm not going to like Oladipo very much now that he isn't starting. So this is going to shuffle some of that up. Oladipo, not really a priority anymore. The 2 point guards that I'd be getting the most of, Jaden Hardy is only shooting guard eligibility actually on DK. But also in terms of guards, Payne and Hardy, I think are pretty clearly the 2 best guard options now.
I like both those calls. Yeah, it's tough. Everything is changing so quickly. I feel like we're going to have to, in 5 or 10 minutes, have to rerun some lineups and redo the who are we getting to stuff because everything's changing so quickly. I really don't know what to do with Tatum. How much playing time do you think Tatum gets here?
Not that much, but like you still need points somewhere, right? Like if he plays 20 minutes and scores. By the way, the starting lineup for the Heat is super weird. The Heat starting lineup is Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Haywood Highsmith, and Cody Zeller.
Yeah, that's a bizarre starting lineup.
It also makes me like Yurtseven a lot less because I thought Yurtseven was going to start at center.
Yep.
We always have to backtrack. We're going to have to constantly backtrack on weird things now. Like, oh no, Cody Zeller is starting instead of Omer Yurtseven. This changes my lineups a lot. And so just to read off that starting lineup for the Heat, which we just got, it is Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Haywood Highsmith, Cody Zeller. So yeah, that makes me like Omer Yurtseven. I like him less. And then also Oladipo, I like less now that he isn't starting. Definitely limits his ceiling there. Pierre. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, what the best advice you asked, how do we handle a slate like this? Just don't fall in love with your lineups. I think is the best advice we can give because some of this news comes out and suddenly plays change in a big way. Like somebody you used to love is no longer a good play. Don't just like make a pivot to a less good play at the same price. You might have to redo your whole lineup in some of these cases. So I think that's the best advice I can give on this slate.
And we just got news that Jaylen Brown is out today. So
I thought Jaylen Brown was already out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My bad. So I just saw it come up on my phone that Jaylen Brown is out.
Gotcha.
So my bad. I just read what was on my phone.
Gotcha.
But also, so Jaylen Brown confirmed out. You had asked me before how many minutes I think Tatum plays, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I don't know. Is that a fair answer?
That is a fair answer.
I feel better. I felt better about my Luka take before that he wasn't going to play very many minutes. And Tatum, I'm a little bit less. I would be surprised if he plays 36. If we get like 25 out of Tatum, I wouldn't be surprised. So Tatum, I think, is somebody who we could pay up for, but here are the ones that I really want to prioritize. The teams that have shit to play for. And that is not the Boston Celtics. So the teams that the players I want to be paying up for, because with this, we just got a super chat. Pierre wants to know, now that we have the Luka info, who are the top pay-ups on FanDuel? This is going to apply to both sites. I like Ja Morant. We've got the Memphis Grizzlies with something to play for. I like Anthony Davis. I like LeBron James because these teams have something to play for. There is no real risk of, other than, a blowout, of LeBron playing 15 minutes. That's a realistic scenario with somebody like a Jason Tatum. So that's what I'm going to say that I think we should prioritize. Play the guys that have stuff to play for. Ja Morant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. Those are the players I'm going to recommend as pay-up options. Is there anybody else you would add to that list?
Hang on. Yeah, no, I think that is good advice. I'm trying to see if there is so Steph has nothing to play for tonight, right? And we're expecting Sacramento to potentially sit some people too.
The Warriors do have something to play for.
So I guess I would add Steph to that list then against Sacramento.
Yep. He comes in behind those other guys for me, but I still think that he's a good pay up option. So I'll have him fourth on that list.
Okay. Yep.
Let's see what else we got in terms of questions in Discord. And this is going to be fun when we get some of these really weird. I know you read off one before where it's like, look at these 1v1 and 2v2 questions.
Yeah.
Get ready for some weird names. King Yusuf. Oh, this is funny. King Yusuf just asked, who are your top 3 favorite pay up options? Yeah, if I only had to go with 3, then it's going to be Ja Morant, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. Would Steph Curry be ahead of any of those 3 for you?
Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Ja Morant.
Mm-hmm.
So he's 10-5. Ja Morant's 10-4. No, I don't think so. Maybe AD. Or no, sorry. Maybe debating whether I put him ahead of LeBron. I think they're all so close that I can't really make a call there, but I would probably put him fourth on that list.
And we've got another question here from the Black Mamba. Now he wants us, with all the updated information, to rank Hardy, Milton, and Payne. Considering that we now have this Luka news, Hardy 1, Payne 2, Milton 3.
That's how I think that's, the order of their projection too here.
JEW says that he had a $50 free NBA bet and was messing around with the Luka unders based on what I had said. And then listen to this. He says, according to him, that when I announced to take the Luka unders, he claims that DraftKings pulled it. I don't think they're listening that closely. I think it's probably a coincidence. The Black Mamba 80. Do we have 2 different Black Mambas in here?
Do we?
Yes. So we had, before we got a question from the Black Mamba in Discord. This is a question from the Black Mamba 81. So totally different. Totally different. I don't think either of them are actually Kobe Bryant, though. What's up, guys? Thanks for the show. What stars should we target tonight? Well, everybody's asking the same question now. Everybody wants to know what pay-up options to go for. So, yeah, just to reiterate, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. We could add Steph Curry to the mix as well. Ja Morant. My 3 priorities, though, are Morant, AD, and LeBron.
And also, people in chat were mentioning Brandon Ingram. We can include in that list too. As somebody who needs something to play for.
Oh, yeah, I just didn't consider him a pay-up option in the same way.
He's 10,000 on DraftKings.
Fair enough. I was looking, but yeah, we consider him a pay-up option. I'll add him to that mix as well. The next question here is from Manny. What power forwards to play on FanDuel with everybody out? Yeah, this is true. Everybody is out on FanDuel. So power forwards, though, the ones I got the most of, Isaiah Jackson, Caleb Martin, and Bobby Portis. And then if you want to pay up, LeBron and AD both have power forward eligibility. The next question here is from Manny. How much Trae Young do I have on FanDuel? Let's see. I didn't get too much of Trae Young. 10% in the lineups I ran on FanDuel. If I'm paying up for point guard, here's where he's priced. He's at 9,500. Ja Morant is 97. Steph Curry's 10-2. I'd rather pay $200 extra for Ja Morant or $700 extra for Steph Curry. So those are 2 guys I got to more of than I got to Trae Young. Just where he's priced and the players around him. The Black Mamba. This is the other Black Mamba, not Black Mamba 81. This is just Black Mamba, Black Mamba. So this might be actually Kobe Bryant. Goga or Jackson on DK? I prefer Isaiah Jackson. How about yourself, Neil? Goga or Isaiah Jackson?
It's tough. So we have Isaiah Jackson projected for 30 fantasy points right now. We've got Goga projected for 27, and price is almost irrelevant. So yeah, it's probably Isaiah Jackson. I do like Goga. Is just such a good fantasy producer. Like if he gets the minutes, probably Isaiah Jackson though. We have Jalen Smith out, right?
Yes.
So we don't like sometimes with Isaiah Jackson, the concern is that he's just going to end up playing 24 minutes. We've got him in for 26 minutes tonight. Who could he lose minutes to?
Really, really good fantasy producer. Like I know you said Goga's a good
and
fantasy
it's a
producer.
great spot against Detroit too.
Yeah, they're both good fantasy producers, but like Isaiah Jackson's an exceptional fantasy producer. This never came to fruition, so it's kind of not going to matter that much. But here's how much I like Isaiah Jackson. I wanted Miles Turner to get traded earlier in the year so I could have bet Isaiah Jackson to lead the league in blocks per game because he was like 200-1. And I was like, oh, he's very live for this if Miles Turner gets traded. But then he never did. So ended up being irrelevant, but was still something that I think correlates just how good of a shot blocker and how good of a fantasy producer Isaiah Jackson is. We've got a question from T. Lee. He wants some updated information for us on most rostered players. I'm rerunning lineups with our most recent news now. So updating, all the Mavericks guys and all of that. And then I'll tell you what ends up coming up for me. I've got these lineups crunching right now, T. Lee. And in like 2 minutes, I'll be able to say who it is that I have the most exposure to at each spot. Trouble 35. Who is Jaden Springer? Is he related to Jerry Springer? And do I really need to play some of this person? I would say you don't need to, but I think that he is a fairly decent option today with the 76ers shorthanded. So we have the 76ers injury report today. Let me read off all the guys that are out for Philly. So Philly is without Joel Embiid, DeAnthony Melton, James Harden, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, and PJ Tucker. So Jaden Springer, I think could start. I don't know that for sure, but I think he's live to start. And with that being in mind, we are projecting him really well. So if he starts, I think he's somebody you want exposure to. If he doesn't, I wouldn't play him. So we'll see what that starting lineup looks like. But who is he? He's an NPC who's in a good spot with a bunch of players out.
Greg, I'm still getting to a ton of Victor Oladipo and Caleb Martin, and neither of them is starting. Do you think we're projecting them for too many minutes here?
Let's see. Where do we have him? Have you by the way, looked at our most recent projections? Because we just got one.
Oh, maybe I need to refresh again.
Yeah.
Last I saw, we had him in still for. Okay, yeah. Never mind. we did do another. I just refreshed like 3 minutes ago, but apparently I need to again.
Yeah. So that's a different outlook now.
Yep.
I got to Oladipo 8% in the lineups that I just ran, but I'm doing it one more time with some other updates because I want to change some other stuff around.
Yeah, that dropped Oladipo's projection pretty significantly.
Yeah, one more run here, and then I'll be able to answer Teely's question about who I'm getting the most exposure to position by position. EMAC wants to know, how about quickly Toppin and the New Orleans Pelicans playing to get out of the play-in game? Brandon Ingram. Yeah, I think Ingram's a viable pay-up option. He's not one I'm getting a ton of exposure to. I'm getting to more of some of the other guys, but I do think that Ingram is a viable pay-up option. But I mentioned the other guys before. I prefer LeBron. I prefer AD. I prefer John Morant. I prefer Steph Curry. And then I would consider Ingram in like the next tier of pay-up options. And then as for Quickly's going to be pretty expensive now. I didn't really get to much Quickly here as I'm rerunning lineups. And
I think he's interesting. So just looking at his recent minutes, 40 and 37 minutes the past 2 games for Quickly. Tibbs is just going to run him into the ground. I don't hate it, even with the price tag. Just given that we've lost some of our best pay up options with Luka being limited to the first quarter. Tatum, I mean, we haven't lost him, but there's a good chance he's limited. Quickly, I think, is one of the more likely pay up options to play big minutes, and he is a pretty solid fantasy producer with others out. So honestly, I don't hate it. At 3% projected ownership, I think he's very much in play.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. Like, I think he's worth rostering, but as a priority or anything, it's always hard to know what people mean in these kind of terms when they say, how about X player? How about Y player? He's a guy that exists on the slate. And if you run 150 lineups, I think he's going to come in more than what the field is getting to. but it doesn't mean he's somebody. For a lot of you guys who are playing 1-3 lineups quickly, isn't one of the guys that I would take in that kind of scenario. As for Thiele, wants to know my updated position by position. Yes, sir. I can help you out right here because this is just about finished running on my computer here. So starting at point guard, I am getting the most exposure to, but this changes so quick from run to run as we get some of the news updates. But point guard for me on DraftKings, number 1 is Cam Payne, number 2, Ja Morant, and then there's just a lot of guys like Steph Curry, Shake Milton, Kobe White, a lot of guys that I get to like 15 to 20% of. My 2 priorities there are Cam Payne and Ja Morant. Have you run any more lineups lately?
So I just ran. I'm getting to a ton of Teo Maladone. We've got him projected for over 41 fantasy points at 7,000. So I'm getting to a lot of Teo Maladone. I didn't do anything to his projection. It's obviously a great spot against Houston, and maybe because I limited now, I'm not playing any Tatum anymore. I'm getting to a good amount of Teo Maladone. Wish me good luck here. But yeah, Cam Payne, Teo Maladone, and then it's big drop down to Trae Young, Steph Curry quickly.
And then we go to the shooting guard position. Jaden Hardy is my favorite shooting guard by a country mile. It's Jaden Hardy. Springer's the one I get to the second most of right now, with the caveat of that it assumes he's starting. If Springer doesn't start, I won't really like him anymore. But right now, Hardy, Springer, yourself at shooting guard.
Yes, I've also got the Jadens 1 and 2, and then it's a drop down to Max Strus.
And then small forward, another one, LeBron by a lot for me. I am getting to Brandon Ingram the second most at small forward, but LeBron is just the definite preeminent small forward that I want to be paying up for.
Yep, LeBron looks great. Getting to actually I have 76% of LeBron in my latest run. I'm fine with that. And then a big drop down again to Strus and Brandon Ingram.
Power forward for me, Bobby Portis and Pascal Siakam.
Bobby Portis, big drop, and then it's pretty evenly distributed. Duncan Robinson, Marvin Bagley, Haywood Highsmith, and Jalen McDaniels, all 16% there.
And then if we look at the centers, I love getting to Andre Drummond here. Like I said, I don't think we're going to see full minutes out of Vooch. I'm 1 for 1 on these projections so far in terms of who I think is going to play limited minutes. I think we see the same thing with Vooch that we got that report about Luka about. So I'm going to go with Andre Drummond at center, Bobby Portis also a center eligibility, and Goga Bitadze now.
Yeah, Drummond, Bobby Portis.
And, sorry, Isaiah Jackson. Forgot to mention him.
Oh, yeah. I actually don't have much of either of Bitadze or Isaiah Jackson. I'm probably going to reprioritize them, try to get to a little bit more. But currently it's Drummond, Bobby Portis, Anthony Davis for me. JJTS, are you not worried they pull the Lakers starters playing against the Suns bench only in a blowout? Like, I think the Lakers really want to win. So, like, it's a concern, but I think they probably go at least 3 full quarters. And then, there's still a good chance they play in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, here is there's kind of that concern everywhere. Right. So what's your alternative? Like, you're going to play Jason Tatum instead of the Lakers guys. But then why is Jason Tatum more likely to play more minutes than the Lakers guys per se? It's so hard to say. There's always some inherent blowout risk in some of these games, but the Lakers do have a lot to play for. There's a lot on the line. Is LeBron going to have to play 40 minutes tonight? Probably not. But would the Lakers play LeBron 40 minutes if they needed to in order to, solidify their playoff spot or play-in spot? Then yeah, I think they would do that. So LeBron James, like I said, I'm trying to find guys that I'm confident have something to play for. And that is where LeBron falls into the mix relative to the other options on this slate. The next question we have in Discord is from Einsteinium. He wants to know, how do we feel about the Houston guys? Some exposure here and there, but nothing that's really like a crazy high amount of exposure. The player I got the most of is Kevin Porter Jr., and that's just in the teens. Like, I think Şengün's playable, Porter Jr.'s playable, Jalen Green's playable, Tari Eason's playable, but none of them are guys that I have more than 15% of.
Yeah, me neither. Great spot.
Yeah, definitely great spot. The Black Mamba then asks, what center do I like more, Goga or Şengün? Relative to price point, Goga Bitadze.
Yep.
Now let's talk about some of these super chats that we have here. And by the way, also, guys, shout out to No House Advantage sponsoring the show today. In the post-lock show, Neil and I are going to build out some player prop cards for NHA until we get overrun with more news that breaks. But we're going to be looking at the tools we have at Stochastic, and we'll find some props for you guys over at NHA. If you guys haven't signed up there yet, use the link we have below. up to $100 bonus on your first deposit.
Can I interject just because this question just came up with Houston?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at it closer and I'm thinking, why are we not playing Houston? Even though they don't have anything to play for, we know they're going to play these guys, or we suspect they're probably going to play these guys big minutes in a great matchup at Charlotte. I think I'm actually going to give a little boost to those three in particular: Şengün, Porter Jr., and Jalen Green. I do like that call out, and maybe some Tara Easton as well. But in this matchup with Charlotte, with these guys, even though they have nothing to play for, the fact that they're probably going to play big minutes, it's pretty enticing.
I have some concerns they don't play them the full minutes. It's a game that Houston needs to lose.
They need to lose? I thought they were locked into one of the bottom 3 seeds.
They are, except there's still advantages to being the worst record as opposed to the second worst record.
Okay.
So we'll see. We've got the Houston Rockets are a game. They still have a game separating them and the Spurs at 20 wins. So there's a scenario where the Spurs could finish with a worse record than the Rockets. Not all that likely, but it wouldn't help if they ended up winning.
Sure.
Some more questions we have from Super Chats. James Magruder, pick the best 2. Yurtseven, Drummond and Goga.
Yep. Yurtseven's not even starting now, right?
Yeah, not starting. Schuler, VR, Ja and Siakam, or Trey and LeBron. That is Trey and LeBron for me. All 4 good options, though. Do you have a lean there? Ja and Siakam on one side, Trey and LeBron on the other?
Yeah, probably Trey and LeBron.
And the next question here, Jonathan Bennett, I'm late. For your top exposure to each position, what do I need to know in 3 minutes? Boy, there's a lot to cover 3 minutes, because I don't even know that we've gotten to everything, and it's been an hour with the amount of moving pieces. But yeah, I'll just really quickly read off to you the players I got the most exposure to at each position. Point guard, Cam Payne. Shooting guard, Jaden Hardy. Small forward, LeBron James. Power forward is Bobby Portis. And center right now is Andre Drummond. So Jonathan Bennett, hopefully that helps you with your lineups there. And yeah, to fit everything we talked about in the last hour into 3 minutes would be tricky. A lot has happened. Let's check Discord and make sure that there aren't any questions there. Although my filler arc, is Reed a bad play since Dedmon exists? If Reed starts, I would certainly want to play him. I just don't know if he's going to or not. Paul Reed would look terrific if he starts.
Yeah.
Really good fantasy producer. I think it's probably one of the definitely, if you're asking me like rank confidence level of 76ers players who they're going to start, I think there's a pretty good chance he starts. I feel better about him starting than Jaden Springer starting.
Yeah. Very solid.
Paul Reed's actually a regular part of the rotation.
Right.
So we'll see what that starting lineup looks like. But no, my filler arc, I think Reed's a pretty solid option. Getting back into our Discord channel. What else ended up coming up meaningfully here? T. Lee wants us to go over the Miami Heat. So now that we have the Heat starting lineup, who are we getting to from here? I don't think I ended up with much of Miami.
I actually got a good amount of Max Strus now. I mean, 20%. I don't have more than 20% of anybody. I still got to 20% Caleb Martin, a little bit of Haywood Highsmith, a little bit of Duncan Robinson.
Caleb Martin's my favorite guy to get to from the Heat. Max Strus second. And then it was just other guys mixed in. You know, I liked Oladipo before, but then he wasn't starting. I liked him less. Haywood Highsmith has been a bad fantasy producer this year. I've even seen him, you know, in some spots where he gets extended minutes. Doesn't make him unplayable. I just like other guys with min price more. So Caleb Martin and Max Strus are the primary guys I'm getting to for Miami. Nothing else a significant amount of exposure to. Like, is there anybody from Miami that you're getting double-digit exposure to outside of Strus and Martin?
Yeah, Strus Martin. So I do have 12% Haywood Highsmith right now, which I don't love. I didn't do anything to his projection to adjust it, but we have projected for 23 fantasy points, and apparently that is enough to get him into some lineups at 3,000.
Clintwood, 83. Ja Morant or Ingram for tiers. I prefer Ja Morant.
Yeah, projects better.
So the other thing too, like, you know, Ja Morant versus Brandon Ingram, you know, we're really seeing Ingram's price is as high as we've seen it all year. You know, who's been the better fantasy producer this season? It's Ja Morant. And by the way, like we said before, Memphis still has something to play for. There's a scenario here where they lose their next 2 games. The Kings win their next 2 games, and all of a sudden the Kings are the 2 seed, the Grizzlies are the 3 seed. not a high probability outcome, but it's something that, because it could happen, the Grizzlies still need to win this game today. They can't just lose and be like, hey, we'll probably get they still need to go out and win the games.
And as Adam said on the deeper dive, they are ramping up the minutes for their starters because they don't usually play big minutes, ramping up the minutes to get them ready for the playoffs. So we've actually seen an increase in minutes for some of these Grizzlies starters. So yeah, I'm on John Morant there too.
And I just saw a super chat come in, but oh no, it's the one from before from my filler. So we're all good. We have answered all of your guys' questions. If there's any more in Discord or any super chats you guys have, throw those in while we're in the post-lock show, because that is going to be starting in a minute. Neil, anything else you want to give to the people right before we get into lock here? Any final thoughts on the slate?
Do you want to go over just our biggest exposures once again?
Yeah, we can do that. Or actually, you know what? I'll do it for I'll go back and do it for FanDuel, because I didn't really do a final wrap up on FanDuel. So I'll do it FanDuel and we'll go back and forth. You do it for DK. Point guard campaign. Who is the most rostered point guard for you on DK?
Yep, campaign.
Shooting guard for me, Jaden Hardy on FanDuel. Yourself on DraftKings?
Jaden Hardy.
Small forward for me on FanDuel, LeBron James. Yourself, small forward?
LeBron James.
Power forward for me, this is Isaiah Jackson on FanDuel. So Jackson's game with the block shots, it just plays so well on FanDuel where you get the extra point for the defensive stat. So Isaiah Jackson, LeBron also has power forward eligibility, Anthony Davis, but Isaiah Jackson there. Power forward for yourself on DK?
Bobby Portis.
And then center for me is Bobby Portis on FanDuel. Center for you.
Andre Drummond.
Yeah, and by the way, Drummond also is in the mix right there for me on FanDuel. You know, FanDuel gets a little bit tricky just from the standpoint of you can only play one center. So the reason that Portis ended up being more for me than Drummond is actually because Portis is power forward and center eligibility. If they were both only center, the answer would have been Drummond. So I'll say Drummond there for the sake of this. Drummond is 4,900 on FanDuel as opposed to his price on DK. 4,900 for Drummond if he's going to play extended minutes. Still not all that significant. Don't forget, this is a guy who, 4 years ago, Drummond was pretty regularly priced at like 9,000 when he was a full-time player. He's not worse or better than he was a few years ago. People just value different things in the NBA, and it came to be known by people that like, oh, Drummond's ability to grab rebounds, finish alley-oops, and get putbacks while playing zero defense isn't that valuable, even though he gets some block shots here and there. I think there's a point in time where people thought block shots meant good defense, and then we kind of realized it's not the case. Let's see. Any more questions? No. I'm really interested to download this DraftKings CSV.
Yeah, it's going to be
see
interesting.
Where some of the ownership came out. Starting lineup for the Celtics, by the way: White, Hauser, Tatum, Horford, Robert Williams.
So it's
no surprises there. We've seen some crazy surprises so far. That's not one of them.
Yeah, it's kind of it's the exact, like, if they were trying to win with the players available, that is the starting lineup they would put out there.
Does that make you feel differently about any of the minutes we might see from the Celtics?
It scares me a little bit to fade, because I have zero. I'm down to zero Tatum, and it does scare me a little bit now. But
yeah, I think zero Tatum's a little bit aggressive.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get some back into my life.
I'm gonna pull up, like I said, the $20 on DraftKings. Gonna open that up, download the CSV, see what some of the ownership looks like. This is not your standard slate. There's going to be guys who are like 20% owned, and that'll be more than their aggregate ownership for the entire season.
Yep.
Downloading. All right. Got it here. From the early games, who do you think is the most rostered player of the games that just locked?
All right. So we've got Houston, Charlotte, Detroit, Indiana, Miami, Washington, and that's it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Isaiah Jackson,
Teo Maledon.
Oh yeah. Okay.
A lot of guys really close though. So Maledon's 21% owned, Şengün 20%, Isaiah Jackson 19%. Oladipo still came in with 15% ownership. Then you got Jaden Ivey 13%, Max Strus 11%, Caleb Martin 11%. Nobody else is over 10%. This is gonna be very spread out ownership tonight. I want to circle back on one other thing too, Neil. Considering all the information we have now, if we had to give somebody a pivot considering that we know, different information than we talked about when we got the super chat at the start of the show, who is your current favorite low-owned play for tournaments?
Low-owned play. Okay, let me look.
So see what has changed. Refreshing the ownership.
I mean, it's the same. It's still Andre Drummond at 3% ownership for me.
Let's do a backcourt play then, because we got Drummond as a front court play. It seems like a lot of people like him. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being a little bit more popular than what he comes in at.
Right.
The right answer is in chat, by the way. Somebody just put it in.
I'm not going to look at chat, and I'm going to say, I mean, we have John Morant at under 5% ownership. If he plays big minutes, he's going to look good. So it's probably John Morant for me.
So for me, Terrence Davis. If we get that scenario where the Kings don't have to play their guys because the Grizzlies win, like how many times have we seen Terrence Davis go out and play like 22 minutes at a cheap price point, have a really big game? The issue has always been a lack of playing time for him. If everybody's out for the Kings, that's a total non-issue today. And we've got Terrence Davis at, let's see, where does Terrence Davis's price point on DK? Terrence Davis is, so $3,900 for Terrence Davis on DraftKings. If all the other Kings players are out, number one, this news is going to come out late enough to where people aren't going to really be looking around. It's Friday night, right? Who's still messing around with these nonsensical NBA slates? People are not going to swap onto Terrence Davis at the rate they should. If you knew that Terrence Davis was starting, Fox, Sabonis, Harrison Barnes, all those guys are out for the Kings. Terrence Davis is projecting for like 40 fantasy points, no?
Yeah, you put him in for, I mean, you'd have to put him in for close to 40 minutes to get to 40 fantasy points. But yeah, he's going to look really good if all those guys are out. I guess at that point, he would be over a fantasy point per minute guy with all those guys out. So yeah, he'd project really damn well at 3,900. That's a good call. I just want to mention that I got a DM from Lee saying, I have a little commentary on Chicago. They have two other active centers that are younger. So I'm at like 10% Drummond.
Interesting.
All right, let me see. Yeah, I mean, if they're not trying to win, why are they playing? Not that Andre Drummond is great, but he's like a veteran who's been around. They know exactly who he is.
Yeah.
It's a fair point.
Now, with that said, he's still well overweight to the field on Drummond.
True, at 10%, he's triple the field.
Yeah.
But that does give me hesitation to have him as my highest owned center.
Yeah, I'm still good with rolling with him, but no, it's certainly a good point by Lee. Understand projecting some of those other guys for minutes. By the way, while we're on Terrence Davis here, I'm going to take Fox and Sabonis off the court for Sacramento. And let's look at what some of the production has looked like for Terrence Davis in that scenario. Because if both these guys are out, I'm going to assume Terrence Davis just plays all of the minutes he could handle.
By the way, we did get Paul Reed starting too. Just throw that out there.
Yep. We'll get on that in a second. But first, the Sacramento Kings, Terrence Davis with Fox and Sabonis off the court this year, 27.4% usage rate, 44.58 DraftKings points per 36 minutes.
Ooh.
For FanDuel purposes, that comes out to 43.33 FanDuel points per 36 minutes. And that's not even including that guys like Malik Monk could not play. Harrison Barnes might not play. Kevin Huerter. I'm telling you, Terrence Davis could be a GPP winner. Could be.
And what is the scenario? So it's all hinging on Memphis, right? It hinges on how Memphis is doing.
So we need Memphis to win. And then if Memphis wins, the Kings game is totally irrelevant.
Okay.
And Memphis is still fairly likely to win today. They're playing the Bucks and Bucks starters.
Right.
I mean, Bucks backups, no Bucks starters. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is more likely than not that Sacramento ends up sitting their starters.
Yes.
That
is the most likely scenario. Not a guarantee because stranger things have happened and teams losing to other teams' backups. But the most likely scenario is that the Kings play for nothing and they don't play any of their core guys. So the players I would expect to sit in that scenario, by the way, Vooch will play today. We have that officially now. But the Sacramento Kings, these are the players I would expect to start to sit if the game doesn't matter. Sabonis, Fox, Monk, and Huerter. Those are the guys I don't think would play in that scenario. Maybe Trey Lyles as well, because what does he really matter? Kind of a veteran player. But the guys that I think, also Harrison Barnes. That's another guy too, who I don't think would play all that much. So the guys that I think would become like the go-to guys for the Kings today would be like Terrence Davis and Kessler Edwards, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose.
We've seen Edwards do that before in the past with the Nets, where the Nets have held out a bunch of guys. Edwards has started and has played big minutes and had good fantasy production. So just what to be on the lookout for the Kings, and it's relative to what happens with the Grizzlies. But now, let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. We got their starting lineup. The Sixers are starting Jaden Springer. So we got Springer in, Shake Milton, George Niang, Jalen McDaniels, Paul Reed. Your initial thoughts on this starting lineup for Philly, Neil?
Probably going to be converting some of my Drummond to Paul Reed. Paul Reed's going to look a lot better. We see a little bit of a boost for Jaden Springer in our projections here. Those are the biggest for me.
Yeah, so Paul Reed 5,000. It's not like he's the min or anything like that. Both DraftKings and FanDuel were a little bit aggressive looking at some of these 76ers and pricing them up ahead of time, with at least with Paul Reed, right? There's other players that are too cheap, like Shake Milton, but Paul Reed, they went out and they priced him not fairly, but they did give him at least a little bit of a bump, because Paul Reed at 3,000 would just be, oh, you play all of the Paul Reed. 5,000 on DraftKings, and what is it, 52 on FanDuel? Paul Reed, yeah, 52 on FanDuel. 52 on FanDuel is a little bit hard to get to because he's only center eligible. But Paul Reed, I think, is a really good play on DraftKings. Even though he's only center eligible, we've also got the utility spot there. So I like getting to Paul Reed. Still like Shake Milton, although not quite as much as the field. And Springer, I think, is a pretty good sleeper option here. Springer's nearly min price. He's projected for 8% ownership on DraftKings. FanDuel, he is the min price. He's projected for 11% ownership. So I like Springer as a low-owned play in large field tournaments.
I do too. Springer looks pretty strong here. I also want to address something. So people in chat saying Vooch starting, so now you can't play Drummond. No, I think that we were expecting expecting Vooch to start. Vooch has started every game so far this season. So the idea behind Drummond is maybe Vooch starts the game, doesn't play more than a couple minutes, and then is out for the rest of the game, which who knows if that's going to be the case. Maybe he's in for the full game. Let's see. Do we actually have a coach's quote? Because that might actually change my opinion here. Because they didn't give the starting lineup, so that makes me think the coach actually said he's going to play.
Yeah. My guess, though, is what you said before. I think Vooch plays, he gets a rotation, and then he's done for the night. It's just to keep that longest streak going. And this, by the way, Neil, is kind of the same logic I used with Luka before. If you are the Dallas Mavericks, why are you sitting Kyrie Irving? Why are you sitting Josh Green? Why are you sitting Tim Hardaway Jr.? Why are you sitting Christian Wood? And then playing Luka full minutes? It doesn't make any sense. The same thing with the Bulls. If you are the Chicago Bulls in a game that doesn't matter, why are you playing? Why are you sitting DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine and playing Vooch full minutes? It just wouldn't really make sense. Right. So I think Vooch. I don't think Vooch plays past the first quarter. And by the way, that doesn't even mean Vooch plays the entire first quarter. Same thing before when we got that report that Luka isn't going to play past the first quarter. That doesn't mean Luka plays 12 minutes. I mean, Luka plays 6 minutes. I think that could be what we see out of Vooch as well.
Yep.
Let me check to see if there's any props posted for Vooch, by the way, on any sports books. Because if there are, I'm taking unders. Come on. Give me something good. All right, looking at the Bulls props, I just pulled up FanDuel first just to see what they have listed. And if there's anything interesting, I'll tell you guys as I bet it. So the Bulls, by the way, are now only 3-point underdogs in this game. Yeah, no, they don't have any props listed for this game at all. Nothing. So nothing we can take advantage of. Let's talk about no house advantage. Jordan, could you throw NHA up on the screen? Let's build an against the house card. Caruso will play today. Nice. Pulling up our projections. Gonna make the screen bigger so I can maybe see it. Maybe I can, maybe I can. Who's to say? If you guys want to sign up at No House Advantage, use the link we have below. You can get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. You know, why would you not want free money? If you had your choice to make an account with free money or no free money, I know which one I'm choosing. Gonna pull up our projections. Which also, by the way, if you guys haven't checked out Pick'em Pro, if you're playing on Prize Picks, No House Advantage, Underdog, we do have a package available, less than $5 when you sign up using the link below. So really cheap way to get access to our projections for these sites. All right, NHA. Do you have our projections pulled up, by the way?
I do for NHA. Yep.
All right, cool. Anything that catches your eye at first glance?
I just realized that I was reading for the wrong site, so let me double check it. I'm thinking that I want to take some overs on Memphis if we have any that look good.
We have unders that project well.
We do. So the thing is, I think there's a chance that Memphis plays more minutes than we're projecting for. Maybe not, because they are playing the backups for Milwaukee, so maybe it's not a huge issue. But just given that they've been ramping up minutes, I've been inclined to take overs, but maybe that's unnecessary when they're playing Milwaukee. So I'll keep looking.
So for me, anybody that we project over as well on that I also know is motivated to play. We know the team is going to give them full minutes. I'm on board. Brandon Ingram, over under 26.5 points. We've got him projected for 27.9. Jordan, let's start this off with Brandon Ingram over 26.5 points. There we go. More. All the points. So that's where we're going to start here. Anytime we can get any of those players, like I said, there's reason to think they're actually going to play their normal minutes. Let's take advantage of it. Anything you found over there yet, Neil?
We like so many unders on guys that I'm hesitant to take unders on. So I'm still looking.
Yeah, let's see. Another one.
An Ingram.
New Orleans Pelicans. Trey Murphy over under for his PRA is 21.5. We've got it projected for right around 23. Mr. Jordan Klein, give me the over. Like I said, anything we have projected well for and over, and it's players who I know they're going to get their full minutes, I'm going to take the over. Conversely, though, if we're seeing a spot where an under projects well, and we don't know and we know the team doesn't have anything to play for, I'm more inclined to take the under on that. So we got a couple overs from Pelicans players. Trey Murphy for over 21.5 PRA. Are you calling me a liar, sir?
He's calling you a liar.
Oh my God.
All right, I found a couple
20.5 points plus rebounds then.
I found a couple of Memphis props that are overs. I think the one that I like the best is over 18.5 points for Jaren Jackson Jr. We already like the over. I think there's a chance that they continue to push the minutes higher for the Memphis guys. And even if they don't, could just absolutely crush this Milwaukee backup squad in even limited minutes. So I like the over on 18.5 points for Triple J.
Okay. All right. Do we want to keep going? Do you want to get greedy, or are we going to go with more than 3?
If you want to, I'm setting some baseball lineups now, so I'll hand it over to you.
Okay.
I just remember that I have these to set.
How are your baseball? Who are you? I just played one lineup for baseball. I thought that would be easier for you to manage during this ridiculous NBA slate. By the way, James Wiseman has already been injured, so we've got injuries afoot in the early going. Who are you looking to stack right now, Neil?
I think I'm going to stack some Blue Jays and some Padres are going to be my primary stacks. And then obviously I'll mix in some others.
All right. Some early results of the game. I'll say the Houston Rockets are doing their best to tank right now. They're losing 13-5 to the Charlotte Hornets in the early going. Teo Maledon, who picked up steam in the late going there. 3 minutes into the game, Maledon has 6 points, 2 steals, and a rebound. No Maledon, no cash?
No Maledon, no cash. I don't mind that because I've got a
side of the game. I mean, the Rockets have 5 points, so there's not really much doing from a fantasy standpoint. In the Pacers-Pistons game, the most notable thing that's happened here is that James Wiseman got hurt 1 minute into the game, and then nothing else really going. From the Wizards-Heat game, the Heat are up 7-2 in the early going, and we've got our guy Gabe Vincent, 2 points and a steal, didn't really play him. Max Strus is a rebound and an assist, but overall not too much of note happening in that game as of yet. So those are the 3 games that are currently underway. And then we've got the 7:30 games are Hawks 76ers, Celtics Raptors, Nets Magic. That is going to be the next ones that lock. I'm going to double check Discord to make sure we don't have any questions in there. And we do. Miami High Life. If Memphis wins and Sacramento benches the players you mentioned, would you swap Payne for Terrence Davis? No, I'd play both of them. But I'd still like Payne more than Terrence Davis. So I wouldn't say go swap out Payne for Davis, but I think you should be playing both of them in that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. You should play both of them, but you would prefer Payne over Davis, even if Davis is starting?
Yes.
With all the guys out? Yeah. It's close.
I mean, everybody's out for Phoenix as well.
Yeah, but I think that Davis is going to be lower owned enough that it's at least a question.
Yeah. So I think it also depends on what time the
True.
Sacramento news comes out.
Fair.
Right. So if we find out an hour from now, then I think there'll be more time to react. But no, it's true. If we find out that all the Kings guys are out like 5 minutes before that game, then just jam the Kings.
Right.
That's fair. In general, though, if this is just a 1v1, like a cash game, the answer for me is going to be Cam Payne. Payne is going to be the player who projects better for me. I think Terrence Davis would be the later the Kings news comes out, the better Terrence Davis looks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Einstein wants to know, do we have any exposure to Theo Pinson? I do not. Did you get to Theo Pinson?
I think I did last time I looked. So let me double check that. All right, I just got my baseball lineups in, so I'm good there. I have 28% Theo Pinson, and I don't love it. Is that game hasn't started yet? I think I'm gonna boost up Terrence Davis and get to less of this not great value from the early games, and hope that pans out, because I don't want 28% Pinson. I don't think.
Yeah, it's that would be a lot of Theo Pinson, and then who do I think the starters are going to be there? Let me look at Dallas. So Dallas, Luka's still going to start, right? Pinson's going to benefit from Luka being off, but still the first quarter, I don't think we see a ton of Theo Pinson. Then you still got Hardy, I think, plays big minutes. Well, I don't know who the hell they go to beyond that, though. It's hard. It's hard for me to really back Theo Pinson. He's not a great fantasy producer, and I don't know he has to be the first guy off the bench for the Mavericks. He could be. I don't know he has to be, though.
I'm with you. I like Jaden Hardy much better. Obviously not the same price range.
Got some more super chats here. This one is from Patrick Lawrence. Siakam or Triple J on FanDuel. That is Siakam for me. I like Pascal Siakam a good amount today. Once again, team with something to play for. I know the Grizzlies do as well, but the Raptors, I think, are a team that we should also be prioritizing. Both of them good options. I prefer Siakam. Josh Gillum, how many minutes projected for Paul Reed? Let's see. What do we give Paul Reed? NBA projections. Do you remember off the top of your head?
27 minutes.
27?
Yep.
Did you recall it, or do you have it in front of you?
Have it in front of me.
Okay. That's a little bit less impressive.
Sorry. Yeah. I should have lied. Should have.
You would have looked impressive.
Have you just thinking of the I think you should leave sketch?
What's which
the credit card roulette? Gets mad at himself. Oh, I should have lied.
I'll have to look. Was it like SNL or something?
No, I think you should leave. It's you don't know the TV show. It's on Netflix. It's very, very funny.
Oh, I have no clue. I've never even heard of it. I have no clue what it is.
With Tim Robinson?
Yeah, I have no clue what it is.
Okay. Huh. All right. Weird.
My bad. I don't get the reference.
It is your bad because it's a good show.
It is my fault. Eddie Sedja need a power forward under $5,400 on DraftKings. Needs one. Doesn't want it. He needs it. Power forward 5,400.
People keep talking about a washer dryer story, and I don't remember the story that you have. You have a washer dryer story.
There's no way anybody gives a shit about that story.
People have asked about it literally both today and yesterday.
Yeah,
maybe it's just one guy.
There's no chance anybody cares about it. The spark notes of the story is that I had to get rid of an old washer and dryer that it was in my basement, and you can't just throw out a washer dryer, right? You have to hire somebody. It's a whole process. So I had to find somebody to hire, had to pay him, had to set a pickup time. And it was this whole to-do to try to figure out how to get the washer dryer picked up. And so we get it set up for somebody to come pick it up, had to pull it out onto my corner of my street, pull it out, turn around. Somebody immediately drives there, picks it up, throws it in the back of their truck, and leaves within like 30 seconds.
Oh,
just some random guy was like, oh, cool, washer and dryer, I'll take it.
And you never got it back?
No, just some guy took it. I don't know why anybody want to hear that story again, but there it is.
I think he wanted to know an update. Like, did you get your washer dryer back?
No, it's just this guy just owns it. But they didn't work. They were not functional washer and dryers.
Huh.
It was just extra ones I had in my basement. Eddie said just question, needs a power forward 5,400 or under on DraftKings.
RJ Barrett is playing, by the way.
Interesting. Under 5,400.
Sorry, what was the position?
Power forward under 5,400. All right, sort by power forward.
Maybe, Tari Eason already locked.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I'm trying to sort out the players who have already started here.
What do you think of Keegan Murray? Would Keegan Murray play if a lot of the starters sit?
Good call. What's the price point on Murray, by the way?
He's a game time decision right now. He is 5,400 exactly.
If Keegan Murray plays and the other Kings guys are out, the answer is Keegan Murray.
But it's hard. Like, are you going to save that spot for him? And if he's already a game time decision, like maybe it's a legitimate foot injury for Keegan Murray. I don't know. There's some risk there. I guess you could pivot. You could, if Keegan Murray is in, you could go there. Otherwise, pivot to Jonathan Kuminga.
Yep. He was going to be my other answer. So there we go. And they're in the same game. So it's pretty easy to do. Actually, I like that a lot. That's good strategy there, Neil. Keegan Murray. If Keegan Murray's out or the Kings guys end up playing, then just go to, just go over to Kuminga there. Easiest swap, same position. Kuminga's a little bit cheaper. Next super chat, Patrick Lawrence. Neil, thank you for your MLB and Twitter help.
You're welcome, Patrick. Yeah, Patrick and I DM'd a little bit on Twitter. He joined Twitter, I think, the day that he DM'd me. And yeah, congrats. Patrick already having some success in DFS. I had to teach him to do the only Twitter help I got him was teaching him that if you @ somebody and that's like the only thing in your tweet, or you start with the @ people aren't going to see it. You got to do a period before the @ That's the only thing I taught him.
There we go. So the other thing that you could do as well is you say, hey, because for the period bothers me. I just think it's weird looking aesthetically. Yeah. So I'll go like, hey, comma, @ player QDFS, Neil's Twitter handle. And then I'll say whatever it is I want to say.
That's true.
That's another way to go about it.
He was just getting into the Stochastic Hall of Fame.
And Paul in Boats says that he would fix that shit and wash me dry, Greg. Is that, I don't know, is that like sexual innuendo? I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, it's sexual innuendo. You don't know what that means? Wash you dry? No. That's pretty dirty, Greg.
I would think so. Is that why Eric keeps texting me that? I'll wash you dry?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So I still have a washer and a dryer here. I just threw out ones that didn't work.
He just said it to me too. I'd fix that shit and fix that shot and wash you dry, Neil.
Oh, people wanted the story of my neighbor in the trash can.
Oh, okay.
I posted this on Twitter. I don't know what the hell it was. There was some guy who walked a mile dragging a trash can behind him. I assume that he killed his wife and he was trying to dispose of the body and was going to bring it to somebody else's house because, it's pretty easy to put 2 and 2 together. If your trash can is out in front of your house and your wife's dead body is in it, you're the culprit. But if you go and you bring it a mile down the street and put it it could be anybody.
Who knows?
It could be anybody who killed her and put her in the trash can.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I think happened. There's no way to know though. No way to know. Yeah, but if anybody wants to see that, go check out my Twitter. And there's a video of just some old guy walking down the street, walking a garbage can.
I never saw that on your Twitter.
See if there's any more super chats here. Looks like we've got all of those covered. And as for Discord, we have a couple questions sitting in here. First from JEW, 2 questions for DK single entry. Drummond or Batadze for most upside? If we're just talking about upside, that is Drummond for me. 2, why is Springer so much more optimal than Milton and higher projected? Let's see. I'm going to assume it's a minutes thing.
Emac says, damn it, Greg, when I moved to your neighborhood, you said you wouldn't talk about me.
It's one of those things, though, right? Is if you see somebody dragging a dead woman in a trash can, is the onus not on you to tell somebody?
You got to tell somebody, even if it's Emac.
So that's what I did. I came
Emac couldn't catch his wife, though. He couldn't catch her. She's a runner. So
that's true. She's very fast.
He didn't kill
very
his
good
wife.
Stamina because she runs marathons.
Yeah.
Like, what do we think Emac's cardio base is, right? He jogs for 30 seconds and then he's done for the day.
Yeah. I just know it's probably not as good as his wife's.
No.
She's running marathons.
Drummond or Batadze? If we're just talking about upside, the answer is Drummond once again. Then the other about the situation with Milton and Springer. So Milton, we have projected for, so here's the biggest reason why we have Springer projected for a lot more minutes. That's the answer, JW. Now, minutes are very hard to project, especially in these scenarios, but I don't think it's unreasonable to think Springer would play more minutes than Milton. So I'd get on board with that. Trouble 35. said to me, we got rid of furniture and stuff the same way. We call it the Bermuda Curb, like in How I Met Your Mother. But you don't understand how crazy it is. It's such a big to do to throw out a washer and dryer. And also, this guy just drove by himself. These things weighed hundreds of pounds. He just picked it up and threw it in the back of his pickup truck.
We apparently we missed a second super chat from Pierre, which was on FanDuel, Drummond, Biombo, Reed, Sharp, or Goga. Just want to get to that before we get to lock here.
So I saw the one. He said now that we have the Luka.
It says on FanDuel right after my filler arc. So we had 2 back-to-back.
Okay, here we go. On FanDuel, Drummond, Biombo, Reed, Sharp, or Goga. I'm still going to say Drummond.
Yeah, bigger.
I'm going to say Drummond. And then on my filler arc said, I hope Delon right at 1% goes off. Is he going off right now? Because that game has started.
Charlie, you can ask me about the baseball stack for a late night game if you want to. You can just put your question in chat.
By the way, but my filler arc said he hopes Delon Wright goes off at 1% ownership. First quarter, 4 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Dan Gafford, 11 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. So quick start for him there. And let's see what else we have going on in the early games. So who are the other players that we were paying attention to? Unfortunately, really slow start for Isaiah Jackson. Just 1 rebound, 1 steal, and no blocks for him. Pretty spread out minutes, it looks like, for the Pacers so far. Same for the Pistons. Pistons minutes, pretty spread out. What do we have going on in the Hornets-Rockets game? Well, Teo Maledon, 8 points, 2 assists, 3 steals, and a rebound in the first quarter for Teo Maledon.
Ooh.
Good start for him for sure.
Yeah. What was his ownership?
Maledon was just a little bit over 20%. He was the most, of the early locking players, he was the most popular on BK. Worthwhile so far. Worthwhile considering the early results. By the way, that's going to do it for us today, guys. We are at the end of our show. This was a tricky one. Thank you for everybody who stuck around and watched. A lot of moving parts. And I'm going to have one more NBA show tomorrow for the regular season. That's my last one of the regular season. And then next week, we got the play-in game starting. Playoffs a little bit after that. I'm looking forward to it. If you guys haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck, and I hope you have a great weekend.